parenting time because I'm more concerned about that than custody, than the joint legal. But the burden is on Mr. Tenhor to prove legal custody and if he should be granted it. Okay. All righty. So that's his burden. Your burden is on the parenting time, Mr. Crow.
So, Your Honor, if it pleases the court, my hope
Yeah.
was to kind of do everything in a comprehensive
Yeah,
fashion.
you can
That's
do it in a
okay.
comprehensive
Just
fashion.
because
Yeah.
I don't, it's hard for me to segregate those two issues.
No,
You know
don't segregate them. Just
Okay.
I was trying to say who's going to have to give me the proof to change something.
Okay.
It's your proof to prevent normal parenting time from occurring at this point. It's his burden to prove why joint legal should be, why the sole legal on her behalf should be changed to joint. All right. So, Mr. Crow,
Thank you very much, Your Honor. I call Ms. Churchill.
Ms. Churchill.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. And I'm going to reserve any opening until.
I was going to say, yeah, if you have an opening, that.
Okay. Thank you,
No
Your Honor.
problem.
Good morning, Ms. Churchill.
Good morning.
Okay. And if you could speak nice and loud so the court can hear you.
Yes,
Okay. And Ms. Churchill, how many children do you have?
3.
Okay. And what are the children's ages?
Hudson just turned 7 in February. He just turned 7 on the 6th. And then Birdie and Sailor just turned 5 in November.
And Birdie and Sailor, they're twins, is that right?
Yeah, identical twins.
And who is in your opinion, who is the parent who is responsible for taking care of the children on a day-to-day basis?
I have been.
Okay. And how long have you been?
The whole time.
Okay.
Since birth, basically.
Has there ever been a time in which the father has had overnight parenting time with the children?
No.
Has there ever been a time in which the father has had unsupervised parenting time with the children?
No.
Okay. And who gets the children's breakfast, lunch, and dinner ready every day?
I do.
Okay. What are the children's favorite foods, TV programs, things like that?
I want to clarify one thing though, just so I'm not misrepresenting. When we were out in Hawaii, he would have like a couple hours here and there with Hudson. But since we've had the twins and all 3 kids, he's had no unsupervised parenting time. I didn't want to misrepresent what I was saying.
All right. So when you said that there was a time in which he had a few hours of unsupervised time, that was in Hawaii. And what year was that?
2017.
Okay. Were you still in a relationship with the gentleman at that point?
Yes.
Okay. So it was a couple hours. Other than a couple hours.
Yeah, he's never been alone with all 3 kids at the same time ever.
Okay. Understood.
Yeah. I just didn't want to misrepresent. So
no problem. Okay. And so what are the children's favorite foods?
They eat all fruits and vegetables. They're vegan. They love to, I would say they like butter noodles. What else do they like? Kale chips. They love fruit. I make them a lot of fruit plates. And yeah, I mean, any kind of concoction with produce, they're really happy about.
Okay. Do the children have any favorite movies or television stories, anything like that?
We don't really watch much TV. I don't get regular TV at my house, and anything that they do watch is generally on PureFlix. So every now and then we'll like review something on YouTube with my supervision, but we don't really watch. It's not a part of our life really.
So you keep a pretty close eye on what they're doing from an electronic standpoint?
Yes.
Okay.
They're never apart from me, and they don't have their own devices or anything like that.
Okay. And how would you describe your children's relationship with you?
Amazing. Very close, very affectionate. It's always just been me and them. And I have to work with them a lot of times like they're triplets, because they all have, you don't get one out of a developmental phase before the other 2 are in that phase. So it's challenging to deal with that. So it's not just a regular parenting adjustment, it's like a heavy one, because there's 3 and they're so close in age.
Okay. And so that there's a lot to that, would you say?
Yeah, there's a lot to that, but I feel like confident in my relationship to them. And I feel like the 4 of us have become extremely close. I've been involved in every activity they've ever done. Like as a parent volunteer, I work at the school where they go to school, so we can all be there together. And I've been involved in every aspect of every one of their lives, and have passionately addressed any type of physical or emotional needs they have, I'm on it and I'm proud of it.
We're going to be getting into granular detail on this subject, but how would you generally describe the children's relationship with their father?
They are very uncomfortable with him from what they've expressed to me and from what I observe from their behavior.
And what do you mean by that?
They're uneasy. They have expressed things to me like not feeling comfortable in his home, not feeling comfortable around him. One of them asked me if he's creepy, things like that. They've said things to indicate, and of course I don't engage that, I don't say anything negative about Mr. Tenhor, but they've said things to indicate to me that they are uncomfortable still. So, I mean, I don't know how far you want me to get into that, but
fine. Do you feel that you at this point have a stronger bond with the children than Mr. Tenhor has?
yes, it's extremely strong bond
Okay, why would you say that?
because of everything I've done to parent them and be there with them through every aspect of their upbringing. I mean, when Mr. Tenhor left, they were all three in diapers still. So, it's been me and them, and I went and got a quad stroller so I could put the bag in one seat and all three kids in the seats. And I mean, my baby equipment was my partner because I was on my own and I had to wear a front back carrier and I had to bring an extra baby seat for the cart at the grocery store. And I've plugged away at this and I've done a really good job with it. And I have great relationships to my kids and they're doing really well.
So would it be fair to say that, in your opinion, the bond that you have with the children is closer than the bond that they have with their father?
Yes, without a doubt.
Okay. Do you have an affectionate relationship with your children?
Yes.
Could you describe that, please?
Yes. They regularly are extremely affectionate to me. I mean, they run up to me, they put their cheeks on me, they hug me, they kiss me. In the night sometimes they'll come in and, they'll want to cuddle. I mean, they are very affectionate and very comfortable, and I hold each one of them, and you can't just hold one. You have to make sure you're giving them all the attention. And the twins, you have to be very aware of that. And so there's a lot that goes into my observations of their needs and my my own strategy on how to meet their needs as a single parent.
Okay. So let's just kind of go through some of the day-to-day activities if we can. Okay. So who is responsible for feeding the children every day?
Me.
Who bathes and dresses the children?
I do.
Who stays home from work when the children are sick?
I do.
Okay. Who arranged for the school environment for the children?
I have.
And where do the children presently go to school? Okay.
They
Who has been involved with the teachers in the school in any capacity?
I have been.
Has the father had any involvement with that?
No.
Okay. And who has made all the decisions for the children regarding their education?
I have.
Okay. And who puts the children to bed every day?
I do.
And in fact, has there ever been a time in which the father has had overnight parenting time with the kids?
No.
Okay. Who's responsible for teaching your children manners?
I do.
Okay. Do you do that? Has the father ever done that as far as you can see?
No.
Okay. And who disciplines the children?
I do.
Okay. And how do you discipline them?
Usually, they'll get to timeouts.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll take something away, sometimes I try to put together behavior charts and things for them so that they can earn and work towards behavior. So at different times, if they have that need, I don't do it nonstop. I do it when we have something that we're going to work on.
Sure.
Usually.
What's a typical day with between you and your children?
I wake up at 5 and I pack all the lunches and I pack all the bags. I make sure they all have clean outerwear for school. They have to have clean nap stuff. So I have to launder all that in the evenings. Then the next morning I wake up at 5 o'clock. I pack the bags and I prepare their breakfast. I get all of them dressed. I have all their clothes laid out the night before. I get all of them dressed, do their hair. And then we go to school and the girls are in a 4-year-old program right now. And last year they were in a 3-year-old they were also in a 4-year-old program. They needed another year in the 4-year-old program again. it was a nature-based program. Then they moved up to 4 days a week in this program that they're in now. So they've had a slow, gradual, and that worked well for Hudson. I did the nature at 3 days. Then he did developmental kindergarten at 4 days. And now we're doing 5 days he's in kindergarten, and the girls are in 4-year-olds for 4 days a week. They go to school all day, and then I usually will pack whatever is needed for their extracurricular activities, whether it's piano books, dance stuff, any sports stuff that they need, you name it, Awana stuff. I pack all that stuff, and I usually pack a dinner, and I feed them at the activity, or we'll make dinner when we get home, just depending on the activity. So we go from school to extracurricular stuff that I'm generally involved in as well. And then we come home, and if we haven't had dinner yet, I make them dinner. And if they have had dinner, we will play together. Like we usually play games together. Like the kids are into board games. So we do that. We play dolls with the girls. They like to, they pretend all their dolls they're like teachers at school. And or we do art. We have an art room in the basement because I'm an artist. So my kids are very interested in art. Hudson has a little potter's wheel. So we do a lot of art. And then I give everybody a bath and put them to bed. And then I start unpacking the bags and unload the car, which is usually a disaster. And then I make the lunches. I do all the dishes from the whole disaster. I have the whole battle scene to clean up. And then I do it all the next day. That's my day.
And you were mentioning some of the activities at the children. Can you describe what activities they currently are in?
Yes. So right now they're taking ski lessons. We also ski together as a family. So that's what we've been focused on right now, as long as the snow hangs on. They've been skiing since they were 2. And they all got skis this year. So they've been skiing. The girls are working on stopping still. So they have been in private lessons because they're just too big. I've been holding on to them. I took them on my own the other day, all 3 kids on my own. And I'm like, I think we need to schedule them for a lesson. So they've been in lessons, ski lessons. They do dance. They all have private dance lessons and also recreational dance lessons. And like multiple types of dance. So competitive, Hudson is also involved in a competitive at the competitive level, and that keeps increasing because he's doing really well with it. So he's starting to have competitions now on the weekends as well. He's been working on that, and yeah, so we're at dance 2 to 3 times a week. And then they are involved in Awana, which is a Bible memory program, and they go to that weekly, where they learn Bible verses, and they've been doing that since they were 2. They are involved in piano lessons. I also practice piano with them, and I sit in on their piano lessons to make sure that I understand what they're learning. Because the last time I had piano lessons was a child, so I'm just making sure that I understand everything, and then I work with them on piano. This exposure to different things that they are interested in. I've really worked hard to engage all of that. Swimming lessons, we usually do that seasonally before the summer starts to make sure that they are safe in the water or at the beach or anything like that. So I've been working with them on that since they were infants, starting at water babies. So they just keep climbing the levels. I'm trying to think. They also do soccer leagues, so that all 3 of them are involved in that. And I've coached that too.
All right. And so I think you were mentioning that they that they go to Awana, kind of a weekly religious program.
Sorry. Church. We go to church twice a week too.
What religion are you a part of?
We are I would say we're Pentecostal.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how often do you have religious practice during the week?
Well, 3 times. We go to Baptist for Awana, and we go to a full gospel Pentecostal churches for our church services and Sunday school.
Okay, and is that your Christianity an important
Christian?
You're Christian. Oh,
yes, Christian. Yeah, I was thinking denomination that you were asking me.
No, I know. No, and that's quite correct. That was what I was asking you. Is that an important part of your life and the children's lives?
That is what our lives is centered around.
Okay, so. And how do you handle any time in which the children become afraid, or let's say they or concerned about something? How do you handle that?
we pray every day. We pray on the way to school. If one of the kids is having a meltdown about something or upset, the other kids will pray for the one that's struggling. We that is the hub of the center of our wheel, is focusing on our relationship to God and keeping them grounded in that.
Okay.
So, and it's nice because at school they're getting the same cohesive message and at church. So it's a really cohesive way for them to learn about Christianity and God.
Okay. And how do you show your children love and affection?
In every way that I can. Like I let them know I'm proud of them. Even when they had a bad day, I remind them I'm proud of them. I try to challenge them. I hold them all regularly. I put them all to bed each night. I hold their little faces. We hold hands everywhere we go. So any type of way that you can communicate love and affection and embrace a child, I do it.
Okay. Is there anything about yourself that affects your ability to give love, affection, or guidance?
No, it's a privilege to do that for them. So
Okay. All right. So who purchased the children's clothes, toys, and other equipment?
I do.
Okay. Who arranges for and takes the children to doctors or dentist appointments?
I do.
Do you happen to know some of the doctors or dentist names? And
And
how's their general health?
they're healthy. Their biggest struggle has been the girls have continued ever since they were infants. They had reflux. So I had 2 babies that were barfing like aggressively. So we determined that they should stay away from dairy. And then they've also recently, if they have a dairy exposure, they get an outbreak of really aggressive eczema. You're like, wow, did this child just get leprosy? Like it's like aggressive. So, and Hudson probably gets it the worst. Just giant red. It's aggressive. Like I know if he had an exposure because he breaks out. So, yeah, what was your question?
Yeah. So the question was if they had any special, other than what you just described, are there any other special needs, medical, health-wise, medical, education, speech, anything like that?
No, they've been doing good developmentally. They've met all their milestones. The girls are practically reading. So whenever I have a bag that I carry around and it has games and workbooks and things. So the girls and I, when we're waiting somewhere, whether it's to have my car fixed or whatever, we've been working on learning to read. So they're ahead.
Okay, good. So there are no other special needs. Are you currently working?
Yes.
Okay, where do you work?
At North Point.
Okay, what do you do there?
I'm a teacher in the preschool.
Okay, you're a preschool teacher?
Yeah. In aid right now. I'm working on a certification to be a lead.
Gotcha. Okay, and what do you earn at that position?
What do I earn?
Yeah.
I want to say it's 15 something.
An hour?
I don't know the change.
Okay. And do you feel you do a good job managing money?
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about where you're currently residing. Where do you currently reside? You don't have to give me the address.
In Rockford.
You live in Rockford. Okay.
Yep.
And tell me about your home.
We have a home that is it's in a really nice neighborhood. There's 2 cul-de-sacs, so there's not any through traffic. We have a large backyard, which is why I picked the house. It has a sledding hill. And we have a large, nice, Hudson got it for his birthday, a swing set, one of those rainbow play system ones.
Mhm.
So you can keep adding on and changing it where the child's development is. So they have that in their yard. We recently got a trampoline for like that. It's a springless one, so it's safer. So they have a trampoline. We have a large playroom downstairs. So, and that's where our art room is, downstairs in the basement. So the art room and then the playroom with all of their toys. I have a TV down there, but just one that plays DVDs. So they can't turn anything on that I'm not okay with. Then on our main level, well, all the kids have bikes. They all got new bikes last year. Skateboards. They all got ski equipment this year.
So how many bedrooms are in the house?
Well, the art room is 1, technically 5. So 4 bedrooms upstairs. They all have their own bedroom that's kind of tailor fit to what they like, their interests, etc. And my bedroom is right there with the kids' bedrooms upstairs.
All right, so each child has their own bedroom?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, each child has their own bed?
Yes.
Okay. Is the house generally kept pretty clean?
Yes.
Okay, tell me about that.
Well, it's cleaned weekly. So yeah, I've got a lady that helps keep it clean.
Okay, great. With 3
So-
kids, that must be a challenge.
Well, it is because of the it's hard to clean the floors when your kids are all over, they follow you everywhere like ducks. So
Right.
yeah, but we keep it clean and yeah.
And how long have you been in that residence for?
I don't know if it's 3 years now.
Okay.
3 or 4.
You don't have any plans on moving or leaving or anything?
No,
like
we'll
that?
never be moving.
Okay, so you've been there for 3 years. Okay.
Mhm.
Do you think that the current home environment is safe for the children?
Yeah, it's great. It's great. They have their art on the walls. They feel comfortable. Yeah, it's the perfect house for us.
And what, if anything, do you know about the father's residence and where he lives?
He lives in an apartment in Holland. I haven't been allowed to come inside, which the other day, you know, Bertie wanted to show me something and he shuffled her out the door. He didn't want me in there. I've noticed the kids have told me it's dirty. They don't like going to the bathroom there. So yeah, that's what I know of it. I've noticed yeah.
But have you actually seen it?
I've been parked outside of it. I haven't been inside of it.
Do you know if it's how many bedrooms are in the residence?
I believe it's a 3-bedroom.
Okay. And who else lives in that residence with the father, if you know?
Well, his wife does, and they have 5 kids.
Okay.
So, which we've always gotten foggy messages on who's there when, and in the previous friend of the court interview, Mr. Tinhorst stated that he would be okay with like a slumber party situation and things like that. I mean, he said whatever works at the time, different things at different times. So I don't completely know their situation, but I do know there's 5 kids, and that's concerning to me.
Okay. And who lives in your residence right now?
In mine?
Yeah.
Just me and the kids.
Okay. And do the children have a good relationship with each other?
Yes, amazing relationship with each other. And with any type of conflict or anything, I make sure to pay attention to teach them how to work through a relational conflict in those conflicts. So we work at any type of issues to mend them and keep them healthy in their relationships to each other. And I think that they're very close.
Okay. And do you have any issues with drugs or alcohol?
No.
Do you have concerns about the father's issues with drugs or alcohol?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
He has a history. I know he has a DUI from his past. There's the concerning termination from Kent Country Club, which we have the report on. Open container in his car. There was the time before the twins, which we submitted, I believe, as evidence. There was the time I was pregnant with the twins. It was 2 weeks before I was about to give birth, and he was passed out on the side of the road downtown. And we had to go get him. I was looking around for him in different bars. A stranger put him in his car. I ended up calling 911 and the police found him. So that police report is also submitted. And most recently, when I've gone to the door to get the kids, I smell a giant whiff of marijuana coming out of the house. So it's strong, and the kids come out smelling like weed. So I don't know. But it's like one of those things where you're like, oh, I got to take them home and shower them right away as they reek.
When was the DUI? So that I have it in my notes.
It was and I want to say it was like 8 or 10 years ago. I don't know.
So before the children,
Before they
the
were
children.
born.
Okay, so that's a known quantity. When was this incident at the country club with an open container?
Do we have the report?
We
It's
do.
been a
If you happen to know, we can.
I'm really
Oh.
bad with dates because it all
All
jumbles
right, was it
together, but I
was
do
it
have
before the children or after the children?
after.
Okay, how long after?
We can get that date for you, real
I'm just trying to put a
Couple years
timeline to
ago.
this. I'm just trying to put timelines to this because
Sure.
things so far in the past may not be relevant today. The DUI is obviously not relevant. I mean, if it's 12 years old and you knew of that when you had children with him.
I'm
So-
more so okay.
So that incident, Your Honor, hold on one moment. 2021, May of 2021.
Okay, so that's 2 years ago, and it was an open container at a country club.
Well, it was basically what the report says is that he was terminated because he was continuing to show up like 5 hours late for work, and he was under the influence of unknown substances. He was confused. He was someone saw an open container in his car. drama with his girlfriend, etc., that kind of thing.
Yeah, it indicates that that he showed up 5 hours late under the influence of an unknown substance.
Okay.
Your Honor, may I continue?
Yes, please.
Thank you very
I
much.
just I wanted the timeline in because people throw this stuff out there and then don't ever give me the context of when things happened.
Sure.
They try and sling the mud and they don't tell me whether the mud's dry. Basically, for lack of a better.
Understood, Judge. Okay.
Please.
Okay. And so, but you don't have any of these issues, is that correct?
No.
You've never been arrested for DUI?
No.
You've ever been fired for being intoxicated on the job?
No.
Showing up 5 hours late or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Are you currently involved in any kind of a relationship with anyone?
No.
Okay. So we don't have third parties around the children. Is that correct?
We don't. No.
Okay. And would you consider yourself to be a moral person?
Yes.
Do you use foul language in front of the children?
No.
Okay. What do you see sort of as the strengths and weaknesses of your morality?
Strengths and weaknesses?
Yeah.
Well, I strive to follow what the Bible says. And so I use that as my baseline for my choices. And so I'm not saying I'm a perfect person, but I have a strong community at church, and they also know my kids, and we have regular gatherings with people at church, and so I think that the community that I have and the belief system I have is what I live my life from.
Okay. So what is your current physical health?
I'm in good health. I don't take any medications or anything.
Okay. You have any kind of psychiatric history, psychological history that the court should be aware of?
No.
Okay. And I think you answered maybe a few of these questions, but just to make sure that we've covered it. What school do the children attend?
North Point.
Okay. And what's their attendance record?
Pretty perfect, unless they are sick and they don't come, but they haven't really been sick. There was like what was it? There was the time that they had the fevers or whatever, and that was the only time they've really, I think, been significantly sick. And what's challenging with the three of them is because of their age, they're so close in age that when they do get sick, it kind of wipes us out for a month, because each one of us kind of get it for a week, and the twins are and Hudson, they can barely blow their nose. So they're just like snot everywhere and sneezing on each other. And so it's challenging when they get sick because they're also little and they're just giving it to each other.
Okay. And do they have a good attitude towards school?
Yes.
Okay. And what's your involvement in the school? Do you work at the same school?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I work there. And then I'm involved as needed,
So I'm sure that you have
like
the
I
teachers.
said, I'm missing the Valentine's party today, but yeah.
Okay. And
so I'm involved as much as I can be.
Great. And what are the children say? I know they're very little, but what are the children's responsibilities at home? Do they do any kind of things like that?
They all have chore lists.
Like what kind of things?
So Hudson, his job is they're at a stage right now where when they brush their teeth and they spit in the sink, they're not rinsing it out right. So making sure that the Kleenexes make it into the trash, things like that. So Hudson's job at the end of the night is just to make sure the bathroom is tidied up, meaning the toothbrushes are in the toothbrush holder, and then he has a paper towel that he can wipe off the counter with, just to teach him. He's not actually cleaning the bathroom. It's more so just to make him aware of cleanly living. And he also helps me unload the dishwasher. That's his new thing. He get the stuff that's too high, he just puts it on the counter, but so he has to unload the dishwasher and he has to tidy up the bathroom. They also have to make their beds each day. And then the girls, one of them is responsible to tidy up the yellow room, which is our like sitting room, the front room. And then the other one, and they play in that room a lot. There's some glass doors on it. So that's kind of a quiet room that they can play in, and there's books and things in there. And then there's the main living area. So one of them tidies up, puts the blankets, on the thing nicely, and then picks up the stuffed animals and all that. Like I said, they're not really cleaning. It just helps them recognize the work and teach them responsibility. Okay. So yeah, those are and they all make their beds. So,
right. So
and they recently started helping me in the kitchen a little bit. So
okay, and so the father has rather recently re-entered the children's lives. Is that correct?
Yep.
And that was pursuant to a court order that he have supervised parenting time with the children. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And after the supervised parenting time has taken place, have you had the ability to observe the children and and how they've reacted after they've seen their father?
Yes.
What has been your understanding regarding that?
It's been a train wreck. And what I mean by that is they, like yesterday, I told the girls we have a visit and today, and shortly after, she threw herself on the ground. She became really angry and frustrated. She threw herself on the ground. She was mad about something. She couldn't get to work. So it was like she had my mom's phone in her hand and she wanted to look at a toy that she wanted. So something on the phone wasn't working the way that she wanted it to. She wasn't able to access whatever it was on the phone. So she became like completely dysregulated by this, which is unlike her. And she threw herself on the floor and threw this major tantrum. So we got her calmed down, and then shortly after, Sailor wet her pants. So that was after I told him that there was a visit. So there's things like that all the way out to Holland. The kids are completely dysregulated in the car. I have taken them on multiple road trips as far as Kentucky by myself, and I have never had issues like I have driving to Holland on these visits. So much so that I have my dad drive so that I can be in the passenger seat and try to keep things managed in the back seat. It's very hard. There's a lot of emotional fallout from it. And then on the way home, it's usually even worse. It takes us an hour to get there, 59 minutes exactly, an hour to get home, potty breaks, pants wetting. I've had to stop and buy leggings before at Meijer's in between. And it's been extremely difficult, the ride there and the ride back. And either one of my parents could testify on what the car rides are like, but the kids are not themselves. They're extremely dysregulated, and it's like extreme, and it's very upsetting. So.
Okay. And let's kind of go through a little bit of the history if we can. As it relates to the period of time in which, was there a period of time in which the father did not have regular parenting time with the children?
Yes.
What period of time was that? Do you recall?
There was, there's no year on this, and I wish
just answer the question.
Yeah, there was like year and like 4 months that he had zero contact with them.
Okay. Tell me what occurred during that period.
Nothing. He just dropped off the map.
Okay. And so during that period of time, did he have, he didn't,
I guess he got married during that period of time, like he literally just, and before that, it was like extremely sporadic. Like there was like a once a month visits sometimes, I was always, I let him come usually when he wanted to come visit as the schedule allowed. And before the court ever got involved, I facilitated the visits, and I went as far as even providing activities, like, those activities that you like carve the treasure out of the stone. It's like a plaster stone, things like that, or little airplanes they could build together, just to try to help Mr. Tenhor learn to engage the children. So I tried to do that as well. Yeah, in the past.
Okay. And
very sporadic visits though, and then there was the nothing.
Okay, so let's kind of go back a little bit here. So,
all right, and hold on, when was that period? Again,
it was a year and a half. If you can recall.
Right before the court got involved, whatever year that was.
Okay, so that was 2022. So during 2021, 2020, 2021, that time period, basically the beginning of COVID.
So.
Right.
I believe that's.
I'll clarify that with the court in just a moment. We'll kind of go through.
Okay.
I have a time. You have
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when did your relationship end with Mr. Tenhor?
When the girls it was like November it was when they were just about to turn 1. So they were born in 2018. So it would have been 2019.
Okay.
November-ish.
And
right in there.
Were you married to Mr. Tenhor?
No.
Okay. And what caused the relationship to end with Mr. Tenhor?
He was cheating.
Okay. And after your relationship ended, did he take an interest in seeing the children? And what year?
Well, and let me clarify. Before the cheating was happening, Mr. Tenhor wasn't coming home on time from work. He was not at all engaged in our relationship. I was always excited to see him when he came home, and I would try to engage him, and he didn't want to give me a hug when he came home. I would wait up. I would make him dinner. I would just be excited. I would have been home alone with 3 babies all day, and I was just excited to hang out. And he had, there were times that I made him dinner and he sat there with his back like this and ate his food and didn't say thank you. Like completely like disengaged, very strange. If I said like, what took so long? We didn't have a confrontational relationship, but if I even said like, wow, that was a long day, like what took so long, he would go for periods of time without talking to me. So I was afraid to ask sometimes because I didn't want to like have the period of time where I was going to be completely cut off from any communication because it was lonely. And yeah, so that's what happened.
And so would it be fair to say that that was in roughly 2019 in which your relationship ended with him?
Yes.
Okay. And during that time, there were some milestones involved with the children, correct? Did the father attend the first birthday party of the children in November of 2019?
No.
Was he aware of the party?
Yes.
And he just chose not to come?
Yes.
Okay. And during that period of time, when you found out that he was being unfaithful to you, was that roughly November of 2019? Would that be fair to say, in which the relationship ended? I know that you learned before that it occurred. Is that fair to say? Okay. So just walk the court through what kind of happens after that regarding his relationship with the children.
So we agree that things should stay out of the court. I would let him visit.
And what were these visits like when he would come and visit?
When he would come and visit, I would they started out with me really babying him through the process because he hadn't been involved. And I still wanted him to come through, and so I would do things like get activities and make dinner to make it feel family-ish. I would try to like tell him about what the kids were interested in or things that happened. I went as far as sending him pictures that he would never respond to. He was disengaged and he was focused on developing his new relationship. So there were things as a mother that I wanted to share with him. Like, guess what happened today kind of stuff. And that just like never happened. So
okay. Do you know, Mom, you okay?
Yeah. So as I realized the reality of kind of what I was dealing with, I was like, I'm gonna do the best job ever for these kids. And so the visits were, they just lessened over time until he dropped off the map. And then this happened. So
when you say he dropped off the map,
like no phone calls, no, he blocked me on social media, like he just vanished.
So would it be fair to say that that was on or around May of 2022 when you got blocked on social media? Does that sound about right?
I don't know because I wasn't like checking or anything. It was just weird because I was like, whatever happened, so it was kind of like I thought he was just moving on. And obviously I'm not gonna it's weird for the kids, I felt like I gave it a good solid effort to engage him. And so the kids had moved on and they were doing well. And my life just kept getting busier with meeting every developmental need that they had and engaging myself further and further into my focus as a mother. And so the kids just kind of moved on and I didn't, I was like, okay, well,
And so before this litigation started, did he ever send the kids any gifts, any letters, any phone calls, anything?
No.
Okay. And you moved to the property in Rockford in February of 2021. Is that correct?
That sounds right.
Okay. So you've been living there for the last, I guess, 3 years now. Is that right? Okay. And during that period of time, before this litigation began, did he make any overtures to have a significant schedule of parenting time?
No.
Okay. It was only after he got involved in a relationship with a woman by the name of Angelica.
Yes.
That it was only after that period of time in which he made this application to the court. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
But before that time, he didn't file a motion. He didn't seek any relief from the court, as far as you know. Isn't that right?
That's right.
Okay. And so since the time,
well, if I could just interject
please.
one thing too. There was another time back when he was doing visits where he had expressed wanting to meet at an apple orchard. So I did bring the kids to meet him at an apple orchard so we could do an outdoors activity together. That was something that I did to try to accommodate him. But again, it's 3 babies and you know, and I think Hudson wet his pants, and, you know, I was prepared for anything, but Mr. Tenhor, I mean, I had no confidence that he could do that on his own. I mean, I had like thousands of dollars worth of baby equipment to pull off what I did. So, I mean, yeah, so he met me and we did the, you know, we walked around the apple orchard or whatever and got a donut. We did that. I did that to accommodate. And, there was one point where he wanted to take Hudson, like take him on an outing or whatever. And I did not at all feel comfortable with that because, he was like a stranger to Hudson, and he hadn't been caring for him, and yeah, I was just uncomfortable with it. So I said, you can come, I'll meet you, but I'm not sending this baby with you, kind of thing.
So during this period of time in which he would sort of arrange, before he sort of, that year and a half in which he had nothing to do with the children, between the time, and let's kind of put some dates on it so it's fairly clear, between the time in which your relationship ended in November of 2019, and the time in which I think the visitation stopped altogether, which I think it'd be fair to say was May of 2022 or thereabouts, or maybe April of 2022. So in that period, there were times in which you did allow him to come over and see the kids, or that he requested to come see the kids, correct?
There was what?
Times in which he requested and you allowed
before
him.
That?
Correct. In that space of time, between the time of between 2019
split up and then
2022,
yes.
when he stopped altogether.
He could call me, he could text me, he could say, hey, I'd like to come visit, and I accommodated
So
him.
what happens when he comes over to your residence? Tell me everything about what happens during the
Before the supervised visits?
Correct. And before a year and a half in which he had no contact.
Okay. So he would come over, like I said before, I sometimes made dinner, then I finally just moved it to a snack. I'm like, and then, you know, sometimes he, like when they were babies, he'd kind of stand there and I would give the bath, you know, sometimes it was like he was there. That happened as the kids got older. It was more uncomfortable because he was there less and less and they were more uncomfortable. So I just got them ready for bed, and he would come over and play a game, you know, with us. He'd show up with a bottle of wine. For a while, I'd have a glass of it, and then I'm like, this is kind of weird. I don't know if he's like trying to come back here or what, but I didn't want to give him that impression. So I was just uncomfortable. It was really uncomfortable doing the visits like this, but I was trying to accommodate, you know, for the children and for him. So
during that period, was there ever a time he called you on the phone and said, listen, I want to take the kids I want to take them to an amusement park. I have this great activity that I have in mind. I want to spend an overnight with them. I want to do any of those things. Did any of those conversations happen?
No.
Was there ever?
Well, just outside of him wanting to take Hudson that one time, and like, the babies were little, you know, you can't just do one for one. And I don't know, I wasn't uncomfortable sending Hudson with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
But would it be fair to say that he never expressed an interest to have sort of regular parenting time?
No.
It was all pretty sporadic. Would that be fair to say?
That's fair.
Okay. And then after that, we get to a period after he has these sort of, and were these planned out ahead of time, or were they sort of just last minute phone calls to you?
Both.
Okay, tell me about that.
Both. So sometimes we would have a day that we both knew worked, and sometimes he would have to cancel and we would reschedule. Sometimes it was like a night before thing. I would say that we were working it out, you know, between us. I don't think there was, you know, and like I said, the kids got more and more and more busy. So as my life changed and I'm on my own, it got harder to, it felt like I was kind of like trying to teach him to do it, and it got harder and harder. And the kids weren't really connecting with him. And yeah, so and then it eventually stopped.
Okay. And then it only sort of resumed at the time in which the court issued an order. Is that correct? Saying that the supervised visitation should start taking place.
That's correct.
Okay. So let's kind of get into that. So the supervised visitation, excuse me, supervised visitation was set up through the Michigan Assessment Service. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was the name of the place that we got from the friend of court.
Okay. And the Michigan Assessment Service, tell me how that has worked. The supervised visitation has taken place at your residence and at his residence. Is that right?
That's right.
Before we kind of get into granular detail about this, can you just tell me generally how you feel things have been going?
With the
supervised visitation.
Okay, but with the supervisor or with
why don't we just start?
Clarify.
No problem. Why don't we just start by talking generally? How has the supervised parenting time been going? We'll get into the details.
I think that it has not gone well.
Okay. Why do you feel that way?
Because The supervisor, I feel like, has done a lot of the work for Mr. Tenhor. I feel like Mr. Tenhor has been more focused on Hudson than the girls, and I've seen this with a lot of their rage on the way home, and anger. He's just playing with Hudson. He gave us some Play-Doh. Did he play Play-Doh with you then? No, they're very angry. We played with ponies. AJ played with Hudson. Things like that. Oh, well, well, Julie played with ponies with us, so I feel like, and I know that from when he was at my home, which that was, a few months back, but when he was at my home, I was listening to Julie down there nonstop engaging my kids. She's there when I show up. She's already in Mr. Tenhor's house with him. She's there when I show up and I'm on time, and she, yeah, she's just been doing a lot of the work. And I don't think that the visits have been very productive at all as far as Mr. Tenhor establishing a bond with the children, just from the post-visit fallout and him still not being able to engage all three kids at the same time.
So are you you're present for the visitation during the supervised visitation?
Well, I was present for the ones at my home.
Right.
I mean, I wasn't sitting there watching. I was upstairs,
Okay.
but I could hear Julie talking the whole time. So, and then when we go to his home, I'm outside in my car and the kids go in. And sometimes I run an errand and sometimes I just, do work in my car or whatever on my computer. So, yeah.
Okay. And you made a comment that the supervisor was the one doing a lot of the parenting of the children during the supervised visitations. Is that correct?
Yes.
Why do you say that?
Well, I hear if I somebody like from when I was directly listening in, okay, I hear somebody crying, I hear Julie engaging the child. I have detailed notes of the things that I've heard. It's hard to, like, I have like 1,000 examples in my notes. But yeah, I hear her down there engaging the children, asking questions, on the floor playing. Sometimes she's on a chair. Yeah, go Mario car, I hear her cheering. I hear her, she's almost functioning in the visits. It is my impression that she's almost functioning in the visits, more as a grandmother than a non-biased, observer.
And when you say that,
am I giving accurate examples or?
So as it relates to her, have you noticed that the supervisor has been rather close with Mr. Tenhor during during this situation?
Yeah, I actually, at one point, just from observing them together, I actually wondered if they even knew each other from before. Yeah, I literally, from observing their behavior together, I was like, I wonder if they've like met before, or if they've been friends and like they've known each other, because they seemed that familiar with each other.
Okay. And during the course of the visits that occurred,
and I just want to be clear, I don't know that. That was my impression from body language and observation.
Your Honor, would it be okay if we took a brief 10-minute break, just a comfort break?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm always willing to honor those requests. I think your current testimony, however, may mandate the fact that the court may order that I have to hear from the supervisor.
That's what I think. I think that's probable as well, Judge.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to hear from her.
Yeah.
I don't care which of you calls her, but I think I need to hear from, I believe her name is, yeah, I believe her name is Julie Van Zee.
Yep. Correct. That's fine, Judge.
But she works at Michigan Assessment Services, which is a professional group. So
she's never been out of line.
Well, no, I mean, this is somebody who is a professional. This is not a relative of anybody's or anything like that. So
And I've never met her before this.
Well, obviously they establish relationships as best they can with both parents, if at all possible. But they've been meeting with you, Mr. Tenhor, more than they've been meeting with. You may continue with your questioning, Mr. Crow.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. So, ma'am, for the supervised visitation, part of the supervised visitation took place at your home. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And would it be fair to say that there were, one moment, was it 8 or 9 sessions that occurred at your home? Is that right?
It was 8.
It was 8 sessions. Okay. And these visits took place starting on July 25th. Is that correct?
If that's what, yeah, that's what my notes say. That's when they started.
Okay. And as a result of the visits, you took note each visit and how they went. Is that correct?
Yeah, just what I heard, anything the kids mentioned.
Okay. And you took notes of every visit that occurred. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you about a particular date that occurred, and I'd like to get your impression. If you feel like you can't remember it, please let me know, and we can refresh your recollection with the notes that you have. You can't read off the notes,
Yeah.
but you can refresh your recollection. Okay.
Okay.
Do you recall the first the visit that started on July 25th, 2023?
Possibly if I know what you're going to ask about it.
Would you-
I mean, I remember like the first time him coming back, you know.
Would you like me to refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Okay. You can take a look at, and Your Honor, I'm just handing my client.
That's understood. I saw what you were laying a foundation for. I kind of followed Mr. Tenhorst so that you understand a person may refresh their memory with notes that are made contemporaneously at the time something occurred.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So on
And
July
that's what she's
25th,
being allowed to do.
can you explain what happened on that date?
Yeah, so that was his first visit. Mr. Tenhor brought each of the children a stuffed animal to the visit, which was the first thing he ever brought to a visit. Miss Van Zee was there, and yeah, the children made comments about him. They said, "Why is he coming here? Why does he have to come here?" It was awkward for them. They hadn't seen him in a year and 4 months, and the girls were so tiny when he left, and they're so much older now that it feels like a stranger coming into the house, you know? They know that's their dad and that he, you know, was coming back to meet with them, but it's awkward for them. They said things like, AJ brought us a stuffed animal because he wants to be king. That was a quote. I just wrote the quotes of what they said from the way they were processing. Yeah, why is he coming to the house? Things like that.
Okay. And what was your general impression of that visit, if you can recall?
My overall impression was I had no idea what to expect. So I had been in the front of the court assessment prior. I had mentioned that AJ never brought anything. So I figured he brought something, you know, because that had been brought up. And I heard Julie, Miss Van Zee downstairs talking a lot during the visit.
Okay. And did you hear Ms. Van Zee interacting with the children?
Yes.
Okay. Did you hear Mr. Tenhor interacting with the children?
No.
Okay. And the next supervised visit took place on July 28, 2023. Is that correct?
Yes.
And do you recall what occurred on that date?
No.
Okay. Would you like to have your recollection refreshed?
Sure.
All right. I'm going to hand you a copy of your notes right there. Your Honor,
Okay.
I would ask, I'm going to go through, she's got about 7 or 8 of these logs. I would ask potentially to introduce into evidence just to see if we can move this along. Potentially, I don't know if there's going to be.
Well, she's still got to testify to it.
Okay, I was just going to see if there wasn't an objection to her.
I'd like to see it before it's
That's all right. We'll
No, just let her
we'll take
testify
the
to
time.
it.
It's no problem.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Well,
did you have
I've learned my lesson a long time ago that when people submit exhibits and then let me read them later, if I have questions on them, I don't have an opportunity to question.
no problem.
That's why we have to have the testimony so that it can be cross-examined.
I'm more than happy to do it. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no problem.
What was your recollection regarding that date?
Okay, so I had recorded that most of the visit, the beginning of the visit, I heard her playing, singing, interacting with the children.
And this is the supervisor.
The supervisor,
Right.
yes.
And this is the very first visit.
This is the second one.
Second visit.
This is the second one. Okay.
Yeah, the first one was the one I talked about with the
Okay.
stuffed animals. This is
Okay.
the second one. So she's playing, singing, interacting with the children. I record on there that AJ is not involved in doing the connecting. She is doing it. I hear her engaging the children. Because I'm upstairs in the living room, so I can hear the whole thing. The kids were already apprehensive about him coming, and I think she was trying to do it. And
Well, that's her job. Her job is to be a catalyst between the party and the children. That's what you're describing is exactly what she should have been doing, because that's the way the first few visits start, and then they slowly back off.
Okay, well,
Just continue.
okay, so anyway, so at some point something happens where one of the twins gets upset about something.
Okay.
She runs upstairs a couple different times during the visit. I sent her back down. You got to do your visit. You know, I'm up here, but you got to go down and do your visit. So she gets upset again. She runs upstairs and she's like mad at this point. And so nobody was coming up for her. Like the supervisor wasn't coming up for her. AJ wasn't coming up for her. So I'm like, well, this is weird. You know, like what's my role here? So I go down the stairway and I said, AJ, like you need to come up and get her. And, you know, like bring her back down to the visit, you know? So, because I had been redirecting her and she didn't want to go back down with him. So I was hoping that he would come up and connect with her. And so he came up finally and she said, I don't like playtime. I don't want to go back down there. And the other kids came up and said, playtime is over. We don't want to do this anymore. And then AJ said, well, can you guys come downstairs and help me clean up the toys? And they said, no, we don't want to come down there with you. So then AJ went downstairs and got his things and the visit ended like 10 or 15 minutes early.
Okay. Anything else you can recall?
No.
Okay. The next visit after that was July 31st. Do you recall that visit?
No.
Okay. I'm going to refresh your recollection here with your past recollection recorded.
Okay, this was just me requesting to change the visits to 4 o'clock. And I had a conversation with Julie.
So that wasn't
and she said she was calling to coach AJ basically on being more prepared for visits and whatnot. And I said, is that normal for a supervisor to do? And she basically, at one point or another, had said like, well, he's not doing it. He needs to be more prepared for the visits. So,
okay.
And I was just making a scheduling change and she said she was going to be calling him later.
Okay. And the next visit occurred on August 1st, 2023. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you recall what occurred?
No.
Okay. I'm going to have refresh your recollection with your.
Thank you.
And as the parties figure out that this is not like TV. There are no scripts here, so it takes time.
3 hours later.
Okay.
All right. So what occurred on that day?
I have recorded that AJ started cleaning up the visit at 10:38, which would have been like significantly early. Hudson was asking to play another round of whatever game they were playing. And he left. He was like getting ready to leave early, wrapping things up. And then what did I, and it was something like I can't recall the other thing I read.
Would you like to have your?
Yeah,
Okay,
thank
go
you.
ahead.
It's a lot of details from a lot of times.
Take your time.
Okay. And that sun is like right in my eyes. I had observed that AJ doesn't use the kids' names at all when he is talking to them during the visit. He came over and kind of shook Hudson's finger when he left, said bye. And I had observed that he had there was still a scheduling conflict. And AJ had told Julie that he didn't want my mom at the house with me during the visits. And I said, well, he doesn't have any jurisdiction. Like they're in another room and my mom's here with me working on something during the visit. So.
Okay. And have you noticed any difference in the way in which throughout all of the supervised visitation, any difference in the way in which AJ treats your daughters compared to how he treats your son?
Yes.
Could you explain that?
Well, I don't think he can tell the twins apart, for one. They are very identical. And I noticed that he appears to, and I noticed this even prior to the supervised visits, that he kind of does this guy thing a little bit with Hudson. And, the girls were just babies when he left. So they are very, they have very strong personalities and opinions about things. And it seems that he's not really engaging them as much. They've told me things like the other kids were comfortable at one point. They said AJ held Birdie, like they were uncomfortable with that. I'm not sure why exactly, they were uncomfortable with him holding her, other than that he feels like a stranger to them. But yeah, so it was just not using their names, just not engaging, awkwardness. And they feel that, and it was not natural or organic. That was a visit 3 on August 1st.
Okay, and do you recall the next visit on August 15, 2023, or do you need your
I'm going to need the
recollection
notes
refreshed?
again.
Here you go.
Sorry, I wrote a lot. So.
No, you're fine.
All right, come on, guys. This is taking way too long. Refresh your memory and let's get the testimony in.
Okay, well, I'm just a slow reader, so
I understand you're a slow reader,
a
but
lot of detail. So.
you know,
All right,
we've
go ahead.
been going on for months with this case, and there was time to prep before the hearing. So,
Oh, go ahead.
you know,
Okay, so there was a conversation of there in that visit about getting the visit switched to the YWCA, and that didn't happen. And you know, Mr. Crow told me to just proceed with what was ordered. So I hear Julie downstairs. AJ brought a toy with little animals. I hear Julie down there with the kids picking names for the animals. At 10:29, I hear the kids, AJ telling the kids that the visit's almost over. I have it all like recorded as I heard it with times. I hear Hudson escape to the art room. I hear AJ try to get Hudson out of the art room. And then at 10:45, he's saying that he has to go back to work.
Now, we've kind of discussed three of the visits. Can you sort of those 3 visits and the subsequent visits, can you discuss any sort of common themes that you've seen regarding AJ's Mr. Tenhor's interaction with the kids?
It's not organic. I'm noticing it's not self-generated. He kind of piggybacks off of Julie, and this it has been a theme, not just in the beginning. It's been a theme throughout all of the visits. Most of the time, AJ's standing behind Julie to receive the kids. He's really depending on her, in my opinion, at the same level. There's not a lot of independence, and the kids are uncomfortable. So, I mean, those are the themes. I don't believe he knows the twins apart. I don't believe that he can tell the twins apart. And again, a major concern is him focusing on Hudson and not the girls and the fallout. And then additionally, the conflict that's causing on the drives home, because the girls are angry and rageful that they've been ignored for the visit. So those are some of the themes. I've asked Julie her role. She's trying to teach him. She says at different points in the visits that he's not doing it, so she's stepping in because eventually at some point he's going to have to do it. And so, yeah.
Okay.
But I don't believe, I mean, and I have notes that I wrote with times and actual data just from my own personal witness, of being there. So.
Okay. And so for the time being, what would you envision as being a reasonable schedule of parenting time as the father gets to know these children again? What do you think would be reasonable?
Well, I think that he needs to do it on his own. I think that he needs to form relationships with each of the children. And
Mr. Tenhor, whoever's in that screen has to be off the screen. Okay, I don't mind somebody in the room with you.
Oh, is there
because they would be allowed to be in the courtroom, but they are in a certain part of the courtroom.
Okay.
So off the screen, please.
Yes, sir.
Please continue, Mr. Crow.
what was that?
Oh, you were saying about what do you envision as being a reasonable schedule of parenting time for the gentleman?
Oh, so I think that he needs to, an actual step up for him would be to do it on his own in a supervised setting, where he is actually having to rely on the relationships that he forms with them. They have not dumping toys on them and doing those types of things is not forming a relationship with a child. And I would like for him to actually form a relationship with the child so that as things come up, as he has to do parenting tasks, he has a relationship with them to fall back on, and the kids will be safe. What if someone is freaking out and throwing a tantrum somewhere in public? Mr. Tenhor is going to need to have a relationship with the child to de-escalate them. The girls get mad about stuff. It's dramatic sometimes, but I'll tell you one thing, if they don't trust the person that they're with, and even my mom, she will be able to testify that if they don't trust the person that they're with, it's not safe to have Mr. Tenhor alone in public with the kids. And he could say, well, I'm not going to be alone. I'm going to have my wife. Well, she's another stranger. Mr. Tenhor is the children's father. And I would like to see him actually be able to engage them outside of just playing video games. Their last visits, he's just been playing video games with them at the house. And I don't even think he's playing. I think he's just setting it up and facilitating that. So they've watched at his house, they've watched movies during parenting time. They've played video games during parenting time, or they've thrown birthday parties and given presents for Christmas. Those are the things they've done at his house for parenting time. He's also played Monopoly with Hudson and given the girls Play-Doh, and they've been on their own. Julie has also played My Little Ponies. She's combed the pony's hair. I heard about it. So I think a step up, realistically, for the safety of the children, to not make this scary and traumatizing for them, is for him to do it on his own with a supervisor at a facility that's, in my opinion, more professional than the one-man show going on at Michigan Assessment Services, so that he can do that, so that when he does step up, it's not scary for the kids. It's not a danger to them. He probably couldn't tell you all the triggers to even look out for that would possibly make one of them run off, or how to de-escalate one of them effectively.
And to be clear, these are 1 hour periods of visitation, correct?
Mhm.
Like once a week.
Mhm.
Is that right? More or less.
We've been doing twice a week.
Twice a week. Okay. And so it's not as if this is a giant block of time in which the gentleman has to occupy with the kids, correct?
Right. And it's a struggle for him, I think, to even do the hour without a thing like the video games or the movie.
So for this hour, there's a supervisor with him who's helping to entertain the kids.
Consistently still very involved.
There's a video game system. There is movies, and from what you have viewed and in your discussions with your kids, has he been actually engaging with the children during this period?
Well, he engages Hudson, and then I went as far as to teach the girls and Hudson to play Monopoly all together. I taught them a couple weekends ago to play Monopoly, so that when they went to AJ's house, the girls could be involved, because I was noticing the fallout from them feeling he'd already left, you know what I mean? And then to not be engaged at the same level as their brother, it's like another blow to them. And so I think that he's got to develop the skill set to have the relationships with them, and do it in a supervised setting, so that he actually does it. Now they're familiar, but now he's got to actually do it on his own, because he's still not.
Okay. I have no further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Tenhor, you may cross-examine this witness.
Okay, so you're not there when they're here, right?
Right.
You're outside, is that correct?
Yes.
So you don't know how I engage with the girls, is that correct? You've never seen it. You haven't seen it in
I've
years
seen it from
because
the visits.
we've been either downstairs or
So,
in
Mr.
my home.
Tenhor,
You've been outside.
there needs to be a question in there, not just statements, okay?
Right.
You're
So
not the
you've
one on
never
your own,
seen it.
she is.
Right. So you've never seen our interactions. You've only heard them. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct, because I've seen your lack of ability to connect with them when you guys were at my house. And it really correlates what they tell me when they get in the car and what their behavior is. It correlates exactly with what was going on at my house. So they're still, they tell me stuff, AJ. So that I have seen it with my own eyes.
Okay. And when you take these notes, you can write down anything you want, can't you?
Objection.
Well, that's a legitimate question.
Okay. That
nothing to
okay.
verify.
You brought in the notes. He gets to cross-examine on them.
No, that's fine. I'm just saying
Yeah, I know.
objection to the relevance of the question about whether or not,
Because I feel like
alas, if somebody writes down something, they can write down what they wish. But that's fine, Judge. Go
Right.
ahead.
Well, I
Yeah.
feel like the
mean,
supervisor would know that.
It's not as artful as you would have asked it, because you would have asked it probably more to the point of
I'm
how
not an
accurate
attorney.
are those
That's fine.
questions. But
She can answer
I'm,
that.
you know,
Thank you, Judge.
I'm
Yes,
not
she
sure what
needs
your
to answer.
question is, AJ. Am I lying about the notes? Is that
I'm
what you're
saying that isn't it possible that you could just write whatever you want?
Yes, that's possible that I could write whatever I want.
And don't you think that they would probably be in the notes of the supervisor if that was an issue?
No, not necessarily.
Why do you think that?
Objection. Speculation about what may or may not.
I'll grant the objection on. Please continue, Mr. Tenhor.
Sure. Do you think that it's okay to talk bad about the other parent?
No.
Do you know Sailor would tell me that you told her that I have buck teeth?
Objection. Hearsay.
Well, Julie can
Considering how much testimony came in that she said what the kids said, I'm going to allow some testimony from his side on that. I realize he didn't object.
What I would say, I'm sorry, Your Honor, not to interrupt the court. Then I would,
okay.
then I would argue speculation about how my client would have no way of testifying regarding the motivation that the child would have. If he's asking why something was said, not something that she
Well,
has.
Taylor
if-
said,
if I may-
"Mommy said."
if I may.
Yeah. Okay.
So she can't testify to the mechanics in one's head about what
Okay,
generated.
did you say that
All
to
right.
her?
All right.
Here's my objection.
Then you may ask that question, Mr. Tenhor.
Did you tell the children that I have buck teeth?
No, the children have been watching a cartoon on Pureflix. It's called Ryan Dufresne's. There is a character called Bucktooth Becky. It's about some spies, and Bucktooth Becky is an awkward 13-year-old girl with buck teeth. And when the lights go out, they can find her because they see her big white teeth. And when the kids saw your teeth, they thought you looked like her. That's what happened.
They
I
said
have
that you
never
said
said
that.
anything about your appearance to the kids ever or talked bad about you, just to clarify.
Okay. Well, going with the negative, how do you have my pictures stored in your phone?
I don't have pictures stored in
What
my
kind of
phone.
emoji do you have?
There's nothing there.
Oh, was it used to be a pig and a snake and a spider?
Yeah, it did. And the kids couldn't read or see anything at that time.
Okay.
So it's not in your, I could show you my phone right now. It just says your full name. It's not in there anymore because now they're able to read and see things and know what they're looking at more so. So it's not
All
in
right.
there.
So, Ms. Churchill, what was your level of education?
Master's degree,
In what field?
marriage and family therapy.
Okay, so you're somewhat of an expert in that? Would
Objection.
you say that? Would you
Well,
say that you're an expert in that?
Objection.
I don't know where he's going. I'm going to give him some leeway. The relevance may be a problem here, but I'll see if there is any relevance. I'm going to let him. She's got a master's degree in marriage counseling. I guess you can ask her if she's an expert. I mean, normally that does kind of give you some
I'm not
credibility.
practicing in the field right now, but I have
Okay.
a master's degree in marriage and family therapy.
Okay.
So would you say it's in the best interest to have two parents involved, both the father and the...
Objection. Calling for an expert opinion. From
No, he's not calling for an expert opinion. He's going to call for her opinion.
Well, and if that's what he's doing, I don't have an objection to that. But he prefaced that by asking if she was an expert, which is why I object.
I think he just gave the foundation for the fact that she has some knowledge above normal
That's fine.
in that education. But considering that she's a lay witness and not has been called as an expert, he can only ask her lay witness questions. So, Mr. Tenhor, you may proceed.
Okay.
Well, actually, ma'am, Ms.
Yeah.
Churchill, you may answer that question.
Could you restate the question?
Do you think it's important for the children to have a strong relationship with the mother and the father?
It depends on the situation. It would benefit the child, in a lot of circumstances to have a relationship with both parents. Yes. But in some situations, it's not possible for different people. There's definitely different variables, but in a lot of situations, yes, that would be the best situation for a child.
And you brought up gift giving earlier. Do you remember the first couple of Christmases that we had after we broke up?
Somewhat. I mean,
Do
not
you
really.
remember getting a
I
present
got gifts. I got gifts, and you came to watch them open them.
that I paid for, right?
That I with money from child support money, yes, and I picked them up, and you came and watched them.
Didn't we
open.
share a bank account at that time?
Yes, because we had been together.
Okay. No further questions.
Okay. I guess I have a few questions. How long did you two live together, Ms. Churchill?
We lived out in Hawaii together a couple of years.
Okay.
I'm so foggy with dates, Mr. Kmetz, so I'm giving you my best remembering because I had babies and a baby died. It was a lot of chaos. So I'm trying to remember. We lived out in Hawaii together a couple of years, and then when we moved home.
Which is here?
Yeah, back to Michigan. I was out there 11 years. He only came out there for the last part of the time I was there. Like 2 to 3 years out there together. And I honestly don't know if it was 2 or 3. I would have it on my timeline.
So from like 2016 to 2019 or?
Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
that sounds right.
Okay, so you
And
were together
well,
during
no.
that time.
We moved home October of 2017.
Okay. And
Because Hudson was not a year old yet.
And you were together through most of 2019.
Yeah, till November.
Okay.
And yeah,
Right.
so when we moved back from Hawaii, we lived with my parents for almost a year and a half while we got reestablished. I was on bed rest with the twins for a lot of that. So it was strict bed rest.
If you're strict bed rest, who is taking care of the children?
Well, it was Hudson. It was just Hudson. Because the twins, I had to have I lost a baby before the twins. So I had to have an emergency cerclage put in when I was, I think 13 weeks in.
Okay. All right. What is your current work schedule?
Well, anyway, do you want me to finish answering or just move on?
No, you finished answering. That's fine. I just wanted to
Okay.
know. Most of the questions came from your attorney. I'm trying to fill in some blanks here.
Yeah. So my mom took care of Hudson, when AJ was at work and I was on bed rest, and I did things I could do from the bed, like read to him and,
So
you know,
did Mr. Tenhor take care of the
my
child
work.
when
So
did
my
Mr.
work
Tenhor take
schedule
care-
is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you brought up a whole nother issue. Did Mr. Tenhor then take care of the child when he was home from work?
No,
Yes, I did.
Well, okay, we'll get to that
My mom
testimony
can
later.
test-
All right, what is your work schedule?
my work schedule right now is Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday during school hours.
What do you do?
I'm working in the nature preschool program. And then recently I started on on the Thursday, because we're not in class that day. They would always have me do different projects around the school
So you work
Right.
at the school the children go
that
to.
they go to, yes. And I started taking care of the cooking for the school for hot lunch. I take care of that. I did the cooking for that on Thursdays.
Okay. You mentioned many of the activities for the children. When do those occur?
Well, usually there's a shuffling of stuff with dance based on, if there's a competition coming up or we need an extra practice. But generally speaking, we've been doing piano on Monday. Sometimes skiing happens on Monday. We do Tuesday, we've had this visit at AJ's house, so that kind of nixed out anything there. And then Wednesday they have the girls have a private lesson, and they have Awana. So I teach them their Awana verses after dance, and then they go to Awana in the evening. That's the Bible verse memory thing.
Mhm.
Then Thursday, they have dance from 3:30 till 6:30, I believe. And I bring dinner, and there's like a half an hour break, and there's like a little area to eat. So I feed them, like there's a rotation of lessons. So we usually get it done, in that time frame. And then Friday is we've skiing for this Friday, a ski lesson. And Monday we do ski, Friday we do ski. And I usually go skiing or they're in a lesson. And then Saturday, not right now because it's winter, but Saturday is usually when we do soccer in the morning. And then Saturday nights is when we go to church. And then Saturday mornings is when we go to church, or Sunday mornings is when we go to church.
All right. Those are the things I need to know everybody's schedule, and I need to know the children's schedule.
That's
So-
their schedule.
Okay. All righty, Mr. Crow, any more questions?
I don't have any redirection.
Okay, any further witnesses?
So, Your Honor, I understand that the court wishes for me to call the supervisor, Ms.
Either
Webb.
that, or you can let me read the report officially.
No, I would, if that's going to be the case, Your Honor, then I'd like to call the supervisor to testify.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I mean, but so we have a couple different options, Your Honor. However, the court wishes to proceed. Obviously, I could call the gentleman to testify, or I could call the supervisor to testify. I do have one other witness that I would potentially like to call, but I would like to call either the gentleman or the supervisor first. If the
Your
court,
choice.
no, I understand, Your Honor, but
If you want to call this, if you want to take a recess and call the supervisor and see if she's available to testify.
well, I mean,
One good thing about Zoom.
I think that we probably want to call the supervisor maybe on a subsequent day, Your Honor.
Okay, why don't you call whoever your other witness was?
That's
going
fine.
to be.
Okay, I'm gonna give me one moment, Your Honor.
No
Okay.
problem. Are they going to come in from a Zoom, or are you going to have them there? At
No,
the
I'm actually going to call my client's mother right now to come
I
in.
figured that's who it was going to be, but that's why I was asking: is she at your office, or are you going to put her on a separate Zoom?
She's at my office right now. If the court, if
Okay.
the court finds that satisfactory, I can have her
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I was just trying to figure out which way you were going to go
Okay,
with
when
it.
do you have her come in?
Okay.
Okay, please proceed, Mr. Crow.
Thank you. Ms. Churchill, what is your relationship with the three subject children in this case?
I'm their grandma.
Okay. And do you have a close relationship with your daughter and your grandchildren?
Very.
Okay, could you describe that relationship?
I see them almost on a daily basis, and I care for them with Brittany. And at times when she isn't able to be there, we care for them, my husband and I.
Okay, so you guys, in addition to seeing them on a regular basis, you also provide assistance with childcare. Is that
Oh, yeah.
correct? Okay.
Yeah.
And so in the nearly daily basis in which you see the children, have you had the opportunity to observe Brittany's relationship with the children?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, and how would you describe her relationship with the kids?
They're very loving, very dependent, and they're very much a cohesive little team.
Okay. And have you had the opportunity to form an opinion about whether or not Ms. Churchill is a good and appropriate parent to these children?
I would say yes, 100% the best, above and beyond.
Okay, understood. And during the course of the time in which you spend with the children, have you had an opportunity to see? First of all, let me say this: what is your relationship with the father of the children?
Well, I've spent time with them out in Hawaii, and they lived with us, our family, for I think a little bit over a year, like 4 months over a year.
Okay. Do you recall what dates and times in which they lived with you? You don't have to be exact, but
I don't know I don't know that exactly.
maybe a couple years ago.
Oh yeah, well, Hudson was still a baby going into toddlerhood,
Okay.
and he just turned 7. So
All right, so that was about a year, so maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay. So were all 3 children born at that point?
the girls were born when they were at our house.
Gotcha. All right. And what were your observations regarding how Mr. Tenhor parented the children?
Well, Brittany was on bed rest from 17 weeks on, and I was doing the majority of everything, taking care of her and taking care of Hudson. AJ wasn't home much. When he was, I was concerned. Well, at first I thought, well, he's a new father. He just needs some help understanding that. But my husband's a great example. So I thought, well, he's observing that. But then as it went on, I would suggest, because I didn't want to just be doing all of it. Like I wanted him to participate. And so I would suggest he feed Hudson, take Hudson for a walk. If he was there, put Hudson to bed. And he was not interested. And I was very concerned about him bonding with Hudson. And so I would just provide opportunity for him to participate. And he, I think one time took Hudson out in the stroller and he went to the stop sign and back in our little neighborhood, and it was gone about 7 minutes at the most. So that's all I recall him ever doing. I don't recall him feeding him, and he certainly didn't put him to bed. And I know he was there because he made a joke about my singing to Hudson. So not that I was offended, I didn't care, but he was there, he was present, and he wasn't participating.
Okay. So would it be fair to say that the gentleman did not enjoy a lot of unsupervised time with the kids?
Yeah, no, I didn't get the feeling that he wanted
Objection. How does she know how I feel?
No,
I'm gonna allow that objection, Mr.
No.
Crow, if you'd like to re-ask the question.
Yeah, no, my question was, did she, I literally said the word observe.
Right.
Did she
Okay.
observe him having any unsupervised time? That's just her.
Oh,
Okay, now that she can answer.
I
Okay.
misunderstood.
Not about his feelings about it.
Oh, yeah,
No.
not his feelings. Go ahead.
No,
Did you
no.
observe?
No,
You did not observe him having any unsupervised time. Okay.
no, I was always there. So
We've heard testimony earlier today about the large gap in time in which the father was not with the children.
right.
It was I think a year plus in which
Yes.
you had from being with the children on a daily basis. Can you confirm that information that he was not present
Yes,
during the
that's
period?
true. Yeah.
Okay, and so were you ever present during any periods of time in which the father was interacting with the children before that gap in time?
You mean when he was at
After
before
that.
that? Oh yeah. Well, I wasn't really there when he would come for his few visits. I wasn't present for that, I don't think.
Okay, and so you've been in,
Just at my house and mostly.
Okay. And do you have any kind of sort of general observations or general thoughts about his ability to parent the children?
I definitely think he certainly doesn't have any experience, and I wouldn't say it's real natural for him. Which, I thought a lot of men, it's new, they have to kind of learn the ropes. But the thing that bothered me was the lack of interest.
Okay.
Personally.
And how old are your 3 grandchildren right now?
They are 2 5-year-olds and one that just literally turned 7.
Okay. And are they difficult in your experience, or can they be kind of difficult to handle all as a group?
It's a difficult thing because they're so close in age. They all want your attention all at the same time. It does take some skill and some managing. There's no doubt. I mean, you can't be passive. You have to be involved and active with, where they're at.
And from what you've observed in the past regarding the father's conduct and abilities with the children, do you have an opinion whether or not he's capable of handling those children by himself?
Yeah. Oh, I have, big concerns about that.
Tell me about that.
Just because they are, you have to be 100% on it. You have to be able to multitask. You have to be aware of where they all are, or you could lose one or whatever. They are a handful. I'm not gonna, say they're anything other than that, because they are. And he's had experience for 1 hour, or maybe a couple times 2 hours. But it's a whole different thing when you're parenting for several hours and caring for them. So yes, I have big concerns because he's not bonded with them. There's been no evidence to me from our car rides there and our car rides home that there's been any bonding.
What do you mean by that?
The kids don't seem attached to him. They don't seem happy to go. They are upset before they get there. They're upset when we take them home. There just doesn't seem to be the connection.
Okay. And have the children expressed anything to you about that, about how the visits are going?
Yes, they have.
And what have they expressed to you?
They have told me things like, I don't want to go to AJ's. I don't like it. Hudson has been just very not himself. And before, he a lot of times complains about a stomach ache. He'll be more, he tends to more buck up, and the girls are more matter of fact. And
what do you mean by that?
They just say it like they see it, more factual. And Hudson is more trying to make everything okay. And you can see it in him. He feels confused and torn, I think would be the right word. And that makes me sad.
And so, I mean, from what you've experienced in dealing with the clients on a daily basis, for that block of time, for 16 months in which he had nothing to do with the children, was that, do you think that was your daughter's fault that occurred, or do you think that was his fault?
Well, he chose to do that. Certainly Brittany had nothing to do with that. I mean, he disappeared, so I don't know what else to say to that.
Right. And so, and do you think that his disappearance has had a negative effect on the children?
To be honest, I don't think, I feel there's 2 things I feel about that. There's certainly, I'm sure they felt like, who is this person? And now he's gone, but their connection they didn't have a connection to him before, and he wasn't there that much. So when he was gone, I don't know how much they, when he went into his long gone of time being gone, I don't even know how much they actually even really noticed it.
Understood.
At some level, but I still think at the ages, there had to be some feeling of abandonment there, even though they're little. It's hard to, they can't express it.
Right.
But when he was gone, they weren't asking for him, if never, that I heard.
Okay. All right. I have nothing further for this witness. Thank you, Ernie.
All right, you may cross-examine Mr. Tenhorn.
Okay. Ms. Churchill, when we lived at your house, do you remember me taking Hudson to the playground almost weekly?
No.
You don't? Okay, well, that did happen.
Objection. Strike.
Well, I'll take it into account. Objection granted. Again, you don't get to testify, Mr. Tenhor. You'll have your moment.
Okay.
I'm assuming you're going to call yourself as a witness, so.
Yeah. I don't have any questions.
Okay. In that case, Mr. Crow, any other witnesses other than we'll reserve on the supervisor?
Yeah, I mean, yes, Your Honor. I think, do we want to recess for today and call the supervisor for the next date?
No, I'm gonna, well, if I, I'll
We can
let
go out
him
of order
present.
if the court wishes.
He can, yeah, the supervisor, we're gonna take out of order is what I was saying, basically. But Mr. Tenhor may call his witnesses if you've presented all of yours other than the supervisor.
Let me speak with my client for just one moment, if the court will allow.
Certainly, certainly.
I'm just going to mute for a second.
Just mute and go ahead and turn off the audio video too. All right. We'll just stay on it. It'll only take him a minute. Miss LeVay, anything going on that I need to know about?
No, sir.
I can't do it off the top of my head.
I know you can't. You know, just like calling whatever you do. Listen.
Well, why wouldn't I?
Mr. Tenhor, you might want to mute.
I muted for him.
Thank you. I couldn't tell who was talking because it looked like you were too. Looked like I had sound coming from yours.
I have potentially one more witness, which I'm going to save as a rebuttal if necessary.
Okay,
And,
certainly.
so again, outside of just reserving the right to call the supervisor, I don't have any further witnesses.
All right. In that case, we'll be calling the supervisor. We'll find a date and time for that. Mr. Tenhor, if you care to call your first witness, which can only be you, unfortunately.
Which would be myself, yes.
Obviously, you can't question yourself and then answer yourself, so that would be kind of
Right.
silly. So what we do
Sure.
is we let you testify in what's known as the narrative. You may just tell me
Okay.
what you need to know, what you believe you think I need to know. Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Crow will then be able to cross-examine. All right.
Sure.
So Mr. Tenhor, what is your testimony?
So after we broke up, I left. I moved to Holland. She was saying that my visits were very sporadic. They weren't. I visited every Monday night, for like a year. I have it documented. There was 68 visits. There was 88 requests over that time for a couple years, and we were okay for a little while. I mean, Brittany would ask me to get her water or get groceries, or if the children needed medicine or anything like that, I would do it. I'd go to family fair on the way to her house. And then we'd have our visits, and I would give the kids a bath, and we would pray over them and send them to bed. So for her to say that I wasn't involved with them is not true. I was very much involved with them, and it was every week. And then eventually, I asked for more time because it was only a couple hours at a time, and that's when she was talking about the apple orchard. I didn't meet her at the apple orchard. I met her at her house, and we packed up the kids in the van. And that only happened once or twice, and I was asking for more time. I just, like, 2 hours wasn't enough per week, and I wanted a longer day. So she accommodated it once, maybe twice, and then it went right back to how it was. And then eventually she would be like, well, I can't see you can't come this day because of whatever it was, and it got to be every other week. So the visits were a little bit more spread out. They weren't sporadic. It was every other week. And then back when the Kent Country Club thing happened, I moved up north. I had a job up in Kalkaska, and I still came every week. It was a 2.5 hour drive for a 2 hour visit. So I drove 5 hours to see them for 2 hours. So to say that I'm not involved or not interested just simply isn't true. And then eventually I wanted more than just the 2 hour visits every other week, and that wasn't enough. So I contacted the friend of the court, and that's how this all started. They like to say that it was the friend of the court that initiated it, but it wasn't. I contacted them because they said that I had to get
Objection.
they had to get custody or
What
child
objection
support.
based on objection based on what?
Objection based on what the friend of the court told him.
Oh, I thought he was testifying as to about whether
You
the friend
guys
of the
said that,
court-
not the friend of the court.
No, he just testified the friend of the court said A, B, and C, and he was about to testify for the friend of the
No,
Oh,
court.
you
okay.
guys said that the friend of the court initiated this. They didn't. I did.
Right. Okay, that's what I thought his testimony was, Mr.
Yeah,
Crow. I didn't think he was saying what the
it's,
friend of the
I got the
court
ball
said.
rolling on it. Is basically what happened. Is I contacted them because they told me that I had to get child support initiated before the
Objection.
case would move forward.
Okay, yeah, I understand. So this was before this case was incepted?
This is when there was that big gap when I didn't see them, because that was when all the legal proceedings started.
The gap was in 2021, correct? 2019 to
Yes.
2020?
Yes,
This case
that's when I
this case
contacted.
did
I
not-
contacted
this-
the friend of the horse or a friend of the
well,
court.
The case started in 2022. And it wasn't you that started it, it was the prosecutor.
No, but I
I-
contacted the friend of the court.
Well, contacting the front of the court doesn't start anything. So,
Well, that's what I was told that I had to do. So that, and then that's when the child support started. But she always had access to my bank account. We shared a bank account the entire time, so there was never a monetary thing. And then we got that established. And then that's when there was a big gap because we obviously don't communicate very well together. It's not an open relationship that we just communicate. I wish that it was, but it's not. Um, for her to say that the kids don't know me or anything, I've got, exhibit 3, there's tons of pictures of the kids
are you
interacting
offering
with me.
that? Are you offering that as into evidence?
Yes.
Okay.
So exhibit
Mr.
3.
Crow, do you have copies of those?
I believe I do have copies of, will the court allow me a moment?
Certainly.
I just want to review it if I can.
It's the standard. Hi, I've got a bunch of pictures of me with the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. But they're saying that I don't know them. I don't have a relationship with them. It's just not true.
Okay. So we'll take exhibit 3. Any objections to exhibit 3, Mr.?
Yeah, I'm not going to object to
Oh,
that.
Okay. That'll be entered into evidence as exhibit number 1 then. When were these taken, sir?
Throughout the years. On page 1, I threw a birthday party for
When?
both the girls and Hudson.
When?
That was on the end of October
Of 2023?
of this year. Oh yeah, 23. Yeah, I'm sorry.
So this is one of the supervised visits.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
It's because I missed both their birthdays because of what was going on. So
Okay.
I threw them a joint birthday party. So that's
Okay.
the first page and the second page. Page 3 is when Hudson was a baby.
And who took those pictures on page 3?
Probably Brittany. I'm not
Okay.
sure. And then page 4 is more the same. It's when the girls were young. These were when I used to visit at their house in Rockford. I gave all 3 of them a bath at the same time. When Miss Churchill said that I wasn't doing that, and she said that I left. That's not true either.
Well, that's her
Page 5
testimony,
is-
and now you're testifying.
yeah,
Trust me, I
yeah,
get a lot of cross testimony. So,
sure.
but please proceed.
Okay, well that's just I'm just showing that I have been involved with them. Along with page 5, that's when Hudson was young. He was a baby up until probably 1 year old here.
Okay.
I think Julie can probably testify about our visits because they've gone much better than what was previously testified. They were a little shaky in the beginning. The kids were a little confused.
They tend to be.
Yeah, they were
That's
confused.
expected.
The transition when me and Brittany were in the same room, or when Robin was in the same room, it was very tense, and the kids could feel that. And then as soon as we went downstairs, or as soon as they come into my house, all that tension goes away. They're playful, they're affectionate, they're not scared, they don't think I'm creepy. That's just not true.
Objection to what the kids felt.
That
Well,
I'll sustain. I'll note it. Again, just let him testify, Mr. Crow. I'll note the objection, and yeah, I consider it. So continue,
they don't
Mr.
seem
Ten.
uncomfortable to me.
Okay, and that's an observation. So
They seem very comfortable, and the reports say that as well.
Objection.
well, we'll see what the reports say when the person that wrote them testifies.
That's fine. That's fine. I've seen them already. I've seen them. I know what they say, and it's progressed. It was a little shaky in the beginning, and every week it got better, and they're happy to come here. I mean, there was a time just probably 3 weeks ago when the Lions were playing. Hudson asked if he could stay for 4 hours so that he could see the entire game, and it was really cute because he was like, "Oh, well, can we just miss a couple and then we can stay for the full game?"
Noted, Mr. Crow. Yeah.
So they're not looking to get out of here. They were happy about being here.
Or at least
So
appeared to be. Okay.
yeah, they appear to be. I mean, they're fun. They're loving. The girls are involved with me. When Brittany said yeah, I wouldn't play Monopoly with them, we tried to get them to play, but they wanted to play ponies. I said we had little tokens for all four of us, the 2 girls, me and Hudson, and they started to play. They played for about 5 or 10 minutes. They got bored with it, and they wanted to play My Little Pony.
Kids still play with My Little Pony? Wow.
Yeah,
That's been around
they
for
do.
years.
And I've been working on bonding with them, and it's working. It's the transition is not awkward like it used to be. They run right inside. They go right to their mom when it's done. It was really, there was a tense period, and it's gone away. And they call me dad now. They called me AJ for a good long while, and just in the last 3 or 4 weeks they started calling me dad. So there's been real progress made. And the fact that I've only had so much time with him is because this has been delayed. I mean, we were supposed to have this hearing in August, and there's been several delays since then. I mean, that was what, 6 months ago when we wanted to have a progress report for this, and now it's mid-February. So the fact that I haven't had a ton of time with him, it's because of the restrictions of what's happened in the last 6 months. So I think it's going really well, in my opinion, and it's improved every single time, and it's been great the last few times. The last 3 weeks, it's been great, or even more than that. But it's been really good the last 3 weeks. I mean, since they started calling me dad, they've been really affectionate. Birdie, it just sticks to my side every single minute that she's here. So they're not afraid of me. They're not scared of me. So I don't know. That's really all I have to say.
Okay. Mr. Crow, you may cross-examine.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, where do you currently reside? You can just give me the town if you like.
Holland.
Okay. And can you, and with whom do you live in your residence?
I live with my wife and 2 of her sons.
Okay. So, but she doesn't just have 2 sons, right? How many children does she have?
Just 5 children.
5
But
children.
2 are not minors anymore.
2 of them are not minors. So what are the ages of her children?
17, 14, and 12.
All right, but hold on. So 17.
Well,
you
the
said-
children, there's a 19 and 18-year-old. They're not children anymore.
So there's a 19, 18, 17, and a 14, and a 12. Okay. And are you legally married are you legally married to your wife?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
What is her first and last name?
Her name is Angelica.
All right. And so how many bedrooms do you have in your residence?
There's 3.
3 bedrooms. And so who resides in each bedroom?
Me and my wife reside in one, and the 2 boys reside in the other one, and we're reserving the other one for when the children visit.
Okay, so there are 3 bedrooms, and 2 of the boys live together in 1 bedroom. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
And so the plan of action would be that if the court were to grant you regular visitation, that the other 3 children would be in that bedroom. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
And how many square feet is your apartment, sir?
I don't know. Probably over 1,000. I don't have that. I'm not sure.
Okay, understood.
1,300, I believe.
Okay, and where are you currently employed, sir?
Am
Where are you currently employed?
with Creative Dining.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
what was that?
Creative Dining Services.
Creative dining. Okay.
Okay, and how long have you worked at that position?
Going on 3 years.
And what are your hours at that position?
Well, in the catering shop, so it varies.
Okay, well, let's say last
Depending on
2
business.
last 2
It
weeks.
changes. It changes, but it's flexible.
All right, do you work 40 hours a week?
Yes.
So is it 9 to 6? Is it over the weekend?
It changes by the week.
All right, well, how about last week? What were your hours last week?
It's usually a lot of times I'm done by 3 or 4 o'clock. There's a few nights of the week that I'm done at 7 or 8. It depends on business.
But
It's a business related hotel, so a lot of it is breakfast and lunch. There's not as many dinners as like a normal restaurant would have.
okay, so it's you're in the restaurant business, is that correct?
Catering. Not
Catering.
restaurant.
I understand. Okay. And what are the children's birthdays? Right.
Correct.
As it relates to your involvement in the children's lives, we heard testimony a bit earlier today regarding the grandmother viewing the way in which you have parenting time with the children. Do you recall that testimony?
I do.
Isn't it a fact, sir, that there has, other than perhaps the 7 minutes in which the grandmother testified, there has not been any time at all in which you had any unsupervised time with your own children? Isn't that fair to say?
Well, Brittany didn't work, but she was always home. She
I'm
only
sorry?
recently started working. So she was always there. So there wouldn't be a time that she wasn't there. She didn't go on any vacation. She didn't go away. So we were always together when I was off.
Okay, so the times in which you did come and exercise parenting time, it was never by yourself. It was always with my client being present. Is that right?
She wouldn't allow me to do that. She only allowed me to come. I asked to take Hudson on little trips and to do something with him on his own, and she said no.
And so you separated in 2019 when you separated from my client? Okay.
Correct.
And from 2019 until and it's fair to say that at this time you're saying that there were periods of time in which my client didn't allow you to have parenting time. Is that correct? That's your position now, right?
Certainly, yes.
Okay. But from the time in which you separated from her in 2019 until the time in which this case was brought, you never filed any kind of motion with the court complaining about not being able to see your kids, did you?
We try to work it on out on our own.
So that's a no, right? That's a no?
It's a no.
Okay. And so during that period of time in which my client was present, for the entirety of the parenting time, did you often come over? I mean, how long were these visits when you came over to see my client and the children?
Several hours.
Several hours. Okay.
Yeah.
And did you often bring alcohol with you for these visits?
I have.
So can I just ask?
She shared it with me. It wasn't me. I didn't sit there and drink a bottle of wine. We shared it.
So if you just wait for my question. So during the period of time in which you would come over, you say several hours, but during the, period of time in which you came over, why would you bring alcohol with you if you were there to see your kids?
We were having dinner. It was just a nice gesture because she was hosting me.
Okay. So you came over, you were drinking with my client, you allege, and then at that point, where do the kids come into this whole situation? Where does your interaction with the children begin?
They were the focus the entire time.
The drinking? Before or after
the
the
entire
drinking?
time they were the focus.
All right. So you're drinking and you're doing what with the kids?
We were playing games. We were taking baths. We were praying. We were putting them to bed. Stuff like that.
Okay. And you heard the testimony earlier today that the grandmother has never seen you put the children to bed. Is that right? Was she lying when she said that?
That's incorrect. Yes.
Okay. And so are you saying that during the time in which
she wasn't there when we were having these visits? They were in our apartment.
Okay. So during the time in which you were living together with my client, are you saying that this is a total misrepresentation, that you were a very active father during this period?
Yes. When I was home, I was always active with them. Yes.
When you were home, that you would put the children to bed, that you would take care of the children, that you would deal with their daily needs?
Correct.
Okay. I mean, so why was it? So my client's mother was there and she testified that essentially
she wasn't there. We're talking about when we came after that. We moved out of their house. We didn't live with them the entire time.
I understand. But isn't it a fact, sir, that during this period of time in which you were working and you were still living with my client was responsible for the vast majority of child rearing activities as it relates to the kids. Isn't that true?
She was a stay-at-home mom, so she had that role.
That's a yes, right?
She was a stay-at-home mom, yes.
Okay. And so at some point your relationship ended with my client. Is that correct?
Correct.
And that ended, I think it'd be fair to say that it sort of ended in the fall of 2019. Would that be fair to say?
That would be fair to say.
And during that period of time when you had, I think did you have the 3 children at home in 2019? I believe you did, right?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And during that time you
were born in 18.
Okay. So during that time you would, instead of being with your kids, you'd spend a lot of time, would it be fair to say, at your new girlfriend's house, that you went to strip clubs, that you went out to bars and did a considerable amount of drinking during that period? Did you not?
No, that wouldn't be fair to say.
All right. So, but did you not go to strip clubs during that period?
No.
No, you never went?
No, I don't know what you're talking
your
about.
sworn testimony today?
I don't know what you're talking about. So no.
No. Okay.
I don't recall.
All right. And then but during this period of time from October of 2019, you started is that the time in which you started your relationship with your current wife?
No, it was before that.
It was before that. Okay. So while you were so you started the affair with, well, I wouldn't say affair, but you started the relationship with Ms. Castorina. Would it be fair to say March of 2019?
I don't recall.
Okay. But I mean, does that sound about right?
I would have to check. I don't know. I have a calendar in front of me. I don't know.
Okay. All right. So sometime though, because I think you testified that in the fall of 2019, you were spending a considerable amount of time. Well, let me withdraw that. Is it fair to say that during late 2019, you were spending a lot of time with this woman, this Ms. Castorina?
Correct.
Correct. Okay. And that you were and what time were you coming home from work, coming home to see, to allegedly see the children during this period from October 2019 going forward? What time of day would you be coming home?
I don't recall. That was years ago.
Would it be fair to say that you were coming home at between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. after seeing your girlfriend?
I don't recall.
I'm trying to understand this though. So you're still with my client. You're still living with my client during the fall of 2019?
What's that? Say that again, please.
Still living with my client during the fall of 2019. Isn't that right?
I moved out in November of 19.
Okay. But let's just say October, let's just say September or October of 2019, you're still living with my client, right?
Correct.
So you're living with my client while she has 3 children. She's a stay-at-home mom. And what you're doing is, by your own testimony, you're going out, you're with your new girlfriend, you're spending a lot of time with your girlfriend. And what happens then? You come back to your house after that?
I came home after work.
All right. So you come, but when are you spending time with your girlfriend then?
We worked together.
So you weren't together now?
I
I'm
said
sorry.
we worked together, employed together.
You worked together. Okay, but you didn't spend it, but you were dating her at the time, right?
Well, I don't know what you constitute dating. What do you say is dating?
Oh, I don't engage in an intimate relationship with her.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I was.
I'm just trying to see how you fit this all in from working the 9 to 4 to having a new relationship.
I didn't say I worked 9 to 4 then. I didn't work. That was years ago. I didn't say I worked 9 to 4 then. I worked at a restaurant back then.
What were the hours that you worked during that period?
We closed at 10.
Closed at 10 o'clock in the evening?
Yes,
Okay. So when you
I worked at a restaurant.
Welcome to the restaurant business.
Yeah, it wasn't
That's
9 to
fine.
5.
all right,
It
so
was
that's
not
fine.
9 to
So,
5.
so you closed that and how many and you work Monday to Friday at this job? Or Monday to Sunday?
No.
What were the hours you
No, it
worked?
varied. It varied because it also had events. Yeah, I don't work at a factory where we have this shift to this shift. I work based on business. So it depends because there's catering events that you may work longer. You may work till midnight. You
So-
may have to work at 7 a.m. It depends.
All right. So in any case, you came. So while dating this new girl, working at this catering, it's your testimony that you spent a lot of time taking care of these 3 kids while you were living together. Is that right?
That when I was home.
When you were home, you spent a lot of
Yes.
time doing that, right? Okay. And so I don't know, give me like 2 or 3 things that you did, 2 or 3 activities, or 2 or 3 things that you did, just you and the kids during that period of time in which you were living together.
Well, I would take Hudson
the
to the
kids.
playground. I would take Hudson to the playground. I wasn't alone with him a lot. You're right, because Brittany was home. So why wouldn't we go together? So there was a lot of time that we did everything together. You're correct with that. Because we did it together.
All right. So you don't think it's a little bit odd that you spent absolutely no time, you and the children, during the time in which you all lived together?
I didn't say that. I said she was usually around because she was a stay-at-home mom. So why would she not go with us?
I was just asking if there were any examples. I'll just say any examples at all in which you cared for the children on your own.
She would go grocery. Yes, she would go grocery shopping, and I would care for that. I would stay home with them.
And how often would that occur, and how long would that take place for?
It was sporadically
Sporadically. Okay.
for an hour or two to go
hour or
shopping.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. And so let's kind of go forward here. So now it's November of 2019. The twins have their first birthday, and you didn't attend that first birthday. Isn't that correct?
That was at work.
Okay, you're at work. In addition to that, my client finds out in November of 2019 that you're with another woman at that time, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And that's when you kind of leave. When is it that you stop living with my client then after that? Is it right there in November? I think you testified to that. November.
It was in November. Yes, it was in November.
In November.
Late
Okay.
November, early December. I can't remember exactly what day it was.
All right. So you stop living there in November. Where do you go then? Where do you start living then?
I started living in Holland.
And that's with your current wife. Is that right?
Correct. That is right.
All right. All right. So now it's kind of out in the open, right? So now you're dating her, not behind my client's back. You are now living there. And during that period of time, is your testimony that you requested to have time with the kids? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And did you ever request having unsupervised time with the kids during that period of time?
I have, yes.
Well, I mean, during that period of
I
time.
wanted to take Hudson to Monster Trucks because he loved Monster Trucks. So Monster Jam came to the Van Andel, and I asked Brittany if I could take him. That's when she said no.
Okay. And so when she said no, allegedly said no, did you say, okay, well, I'm going to go file a motion with the court and say, I want to have a regular parenting time with my kid? Did you go and do that?
No, this was later that.
No, but I mean, you didn't do it at that point, did you? You didn't actually ever do it, but you didn't do it at that point. Isn't that right? That's true, isn't it? No, you didn't.
No, I actually did do that. So what you're saying is not true.
So, I'm sorry, you filed, it's your testimony that you filed a motion looking for custody and parenting time in this case?
Parenting time, yes.
Okay. Well, I'll let the procedural history of this case reflect what it reflects. So after you are living now with your girlfriend, what is the amount of time that you're spending with the children at this point?
Every other week for a few hours.
Every other week for a few hours, and that's at my client's residence, is it not?
It is.
Okay. And this is about the time that, and how long did this continue for? The every other hour, every other week for a couple of hours?
For a couple of years.
For a couple of years. Okay. And then at some point, and this is all when you were working at the, okay. So this is all when you were working at the, let me ask you this way. When is it that you started working at the country club?
I'd have to check a resume. I don't remember exactly.
Well, do you recall when you got terminated from the? Because I can give you that date. Do you recall when that
Sure.
occurred?
Sure, you can give me that date. That's fine.
Was that in November? Let me just. I don't want to. Give me just one moment.
No, it was in May.
Of 2021. Is that
Whatever
right?
you- Correct.
Okay. And you were terminated from that position due to you being 5 hours late and also being under the influence of some kind of substance. Is that right?
I was not under the influence of anything.
Well, that was
There's conflicting testimony in that.
Well, the correspondence, the letter indicating your termination was because of those reasons, was it not?
Yes.
Okay, that's what their position was, at least. You can say that wasn't the case. And you're saying that you didn't have any issue with substances during that period?
No.
None at all. Is that right?
No.
All right. And
They never sent to me to get tested. This is all hearsay.
all right. So in any case, let's talk about, so for the first year in which you were separated, you said that you saw the kids each week. Is that on year one? It was each week. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I have it charted out somewhere. I'd have to refer to that to get the
And
exact
so
date, but it was pretty regularly every week.
Okay, and that was never for a period of more than 2 hours. Isn't that fair to say?
No, it's not fair to say.
And
I
then
would show up around 6 o'clock. I'd leave at 10 to 11. It was a lot longer than it has been recently.
we were also drinking during that time too, right? So that took up some of the time as well. Isn't that right?
No, we shared a bottle of wine between two people over 5 hours. It was not.
And in the second year, wasn't so? I think your testimony was that in the second year of the separation, it was every other week in which you started having less time than you did the first year. Isn't that right?
Can you repeat that?
So then in the second year, you started having even less time. You started spending every other week. You had a couple hours. Isn't that right?
That started around. I'm looking right now.
Can I object to
That's
the
summer of 2021.
the
The summer of 21.
Hold on, what are you
looking at
objecting to?
documents during his, I'm objecting because the witness is looking at documents while he's
Okay,
testifying.
well, all right, and let's lay the Mr. Tenhor, are you looking at a document?
I'm referring my memory. I'm looking at notes.
Okay,
like,
but the way
Brittany got
to do that is to request to look at those and tell the court what document you're looking at.
Okay,
That's how
had it.
she had to do it. So that can you tell us what document you're looking at to refresh your memory?
Yes, I sent a letter to the court probably 2 years ago. And it was when we first did this. And I sent a log of when I visited and when I requested to visit. That's what I was looking at.
Okay, so that's what you were refreshing your memory with.
Yes.
If you knew times and dates. Mr.
Yep.
Crow, continue with your
Okay.
objection, or
That's fine. So
now that we've got the foundation, I'm sorry I had to help him with that, Mr. Crow, but I thought that's what he was doing. And
I'm not an attorney. I'm sorry. I don't know.
I
everything.
know and I have to treat you like an attorney, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that we have to have the foundations laid in the proper order.
Yep.
And all right. So what we've said thus far, just to kind of recast this a bit. In the first year, you were having every week. The second year, it was every other week. You were having a few hours at my client's residence. In the third year, you were having. Would it be fair to say that you were having one session per month of parenting time during that period?
For what period?
Or the
When are you
third year?
saying?
Let's say 20. I think we're saying 2022.
Can I look at my notes right now to look?
You can refresh your recollection.
Okay. So in 2022 is when the legal proceedings started. So the visits were only until April.
Okay. And during this period of time, during this period of time, we've seen extensive testimony today from my client and the grandmother that there was a significant period of time in which you had absolutely no access. And I think you said as much in your correspondence that there was literally over a year in which you had no parenting time at all. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
That is correct. That for over a year you had no parenting time. And that was only interrupted by the filing of the prosecutor's office in this case. Isn't that correct?
No, that's not correct.
And so if not for this filing, it's quite possible that you would continue to not have any relationship.
That's not correct. You can't speak for me. So no,
Isn't that right?
that's not correct. That is not correct.
Well,
and so now we have gone to
This is why we're doing this, is because I want parenting time, not to be away from it.
I'm just gonna move to strike that comment as not being responsive to my question.
no problem. Well, it's an obvious statement. I mean, that's why we're here. If he wasn't
I'll
asking,
ask,
we
but
wouldn't be.
There was not a question before the witness, though.
Right, there was not. So that is stricken. So
Okay, thank you, Judge.
problem.
So in addition to that, so now we are on a schedule of supervised parenting time. Isn't that right?
Uh-huh.
So I'd like to just start here about the relationship that you have with the supervisor in this case. So the supervisor is Julie. Is it Julie Venhor? Is that correct? Am I getting that name wrong?
Van something. I don't remember
Van
her last
something,
name.
right? So let me get the name right. Julie Van Zee. Let me get the name right for the record. Okay, so Julie Van Zee is the supervisor in this situation. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And do you talk to Ms. Van Zee on a regular basis?
Only about scheduling.
All right. You haven't had any other conversations with her about your parenting time?
I've had three-way texts with Brittany as well. It's always about when the schedule comes out.
I just want you to just answer my question. So did you have any type of communication with Ms. Van Zee outside of my client's presence?
Yes.
Okay. Could you describe that without my client being on the telephone or being noticed about their discussions? What kind of discussions did you have with Ms. Van Zee?
About what schedule works and about payment.
Okay. Did you have any other discussions via text message or phone calls regarding anything that happened during the course of the supervised time?
Yeah, she did call me one time.
I mean, isn't it fair to say that you're actually in regular contact with her? Would that be a fair statement?
Well, I see her twice a week, so yeah, I would say that.
Well, other than that, other than the court-ordered supervised time, isn't it a fact that you've been communicating with her on a regular basis outside of just scheduling and payments? Isn't that
Only
fair to say?
professionally. Only professionally.
All right. So indeed, there have been other conversations other than scheduling and payment. Isn't
She
that
called
right?
me once to ask about. She called me once to ask about. Birdie poked herself in the eye with something, and she asked me about what happened. So that was it. It was only professional, so it's that she could note that.
And so there haven't been a consistent amount of text messages between you and her throughout the course of this case. Is that your testimony?
Yeah.
That there has not been. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. In addition to that, tell me how this works. I understand that you testified a few moments ago regarding the Lions game in which the child said that he wished to attend, have more time with you during that period of time. We've heard testimony earlier today that the activities in which the children are basically doing while in your care involve video games, watching movies. Are you denying that fact?
No.
Yes, you
We
are.
watched No, I'm not denying that.
Okay. So in the 1 hour that you're afforded, under the 1 or 2 hours, depending on how you have it worked out, what you are spending your time with the three children that you haven't seen for better than a year, playing video games and watching movies. Is that fair to say?
We've watched one movie and we played video games 3 times.
Okay. And what were you doing? So are you saying that the playing with electronics and the video games, that was that happened only very briefly during the course of?
Yes.
Okay. So,
Yes.
so it would be fair to say that when we have the supervisor come in and testify, that it's unlikely she's going to testify that that's how you spend the majority of time. Isn't that right?
Absolutely.
And
It's only been the last 3 times. I got Hudson a Switch for his birthday. His birthday was February 6th, so it's only been a few weeks.
so for the
We
last
watched one. We've watched one movie. It was a Super Mario Brothers movie, and that's the only movie we've ever watched. So yes.
and so we've also heard testimony regarding what kind of activities have you done with the girls during the visitation?
We played Play-Doh, even though Brittany said that I didn't play with them. Yes, I absolutely did. We played My Little Ponies. We used to play with Beyblades. All 3 of us would do that together. They're these little spinning tops. We would color together. When I used to go to her house, we had these little scribble pets that we would color the cats and dogs and whatever they were, and then you can wash them off. And that's actually where Julie said to be more prepared. She just told me to get some paper towel so that we didn't make it wet for Brittany's house. And we played. We played several games. Every time I would go there, I'd bring something new so that they would stay engaged and be interested. And I don't remember every game that I brought to them, but I brought them something new every week.
So we've heard some testimony earlier today that when the children would leave your residence, there would be a residue of marijuana smell on them. Do you smoke marijuana, sir?
I have.
Okay. Do you smoke marijuana within hours of the children?
No, never. No, never.
So do you regularly smoke marijuana?
No.
Okay. So my client perceiving that smell she was just wrong. She was just wrong about that smell. Is that right?
We live in a big multi-unit place, so I don't know where that came from.
Okay.
It's all townhomes that are connected. We don't live in a standalone unit.
Okay. And when was the last time you smoked marijuana?
I don't know. 2 weeks ago.
And how do you obtain the marijuana?
Well, it's legal. You can go to a dispensary if you want.
What dispensary do
It's
you go
not
to?
illegal. It's not illegal. My friend had some. I didn't go.
So you don't purchase marijuana?
No.
You've never purchased marijuana?
I have before, not regularly.
Recently?
No.
Okay. So it was in my client's imagination that there was a marijuana smell. Is that right?
I don't know where that came from. I can't testify for her.
So So during this period of time in which you were not involved in the children's lives for better than a year, during that period of time, you did not contact my client, or you didn't send any Christmas gifts or holiday gifts. You didn't do anything for the kids during that period, did you?
I didn't think they would go to her. I thought she would throw them away or not get them to her or to
But
them.
Not a call, not a card, not a gift for that entire year. Isn't that
We have
fair?
an extremely broken relationship, so I didn't think that she would answer.
So I'm just going to go ahead and just have you answer my question if you could. So during that year, not a call, not a card, not a gift. Is that correct?
Correct. Correct.
And so, you understand that during that period, did you have any kind of thought about the damage that perhaps you were doing to your children by completely disengaging them for the year?
I did not think that it would take that long. I thought the court would move faster.
So for that year, for that period of time, it didn't concern you that you weren't seeing your children at all during that period of time?
Yeah, I missed them all the time.
Okay, but you didn't take any steps to address it at all, right?
I didn't contact her, no.
Gotcha. Okay. And so now, essentially, now you're married, and now all of a sudden we want to, with the filing of the prosecutor's application, in fact. So I'll be careful with how I describe it. Now it is essentially thrust upon you, this issue, and now you have been having this visitation, and you have any
It's not
concern?
thrust upon me.
You have any concern about how this is affecting the kids? Just having you out of nowhere suddenly re-entering their lives? Does that cause you any concern at all?
They've reacted positively. They've been nothing but happy since they came here.
So it's your testimony that they have been nothing but happy during these periods of visitation?
It was rough in the beginning, but it's gotten 100 times better, yes.
Okay. And so when you've heard testimony from my client and from the grandmother that the children are having adverse reactions to the visits, both before the visits and after the visits, does that cause you any concern that the children are having those types of reactions?
I don't believe that it's accurate.
So you believe that both my client and the grandmother of the children are both lying under oath? Is that what you're saying?
I do.
Okay. And the fact that after these visits have taken place, that the children have had, according to the testimony of both my client and the grandmother, have had physical reactions to the parenting time taking place, that doesn't cause you any concern either, does it?
Well, they haven't acted like that when they're here, so I don't believe it. They've been nothing but happy. They've been well responsive. There's been no accidents. No one's wetting their pants. They've used the bathroom, so I don't believe that. No, I think they're just saying that.
And so we've heard testimony that you're indicating that they're starting to call you dad and not AJ, but they were calling you. I will hold that for a moment, but they were calling you AJ for the good part of the beginning of the supervised parenting time, were they not?
They were.
Okay, and that's because they don't know who you are. Isn't that right?
Objection. That's.
You can
Answer the question.
Yes, I know who I am. I'm their dad. They know that, and that's why they call me dad.
Well, they're calling you dad. You're
They were confused. They were confused.
They were confused. Might part of that confusion be that you elected not to see them for over a year, and then
further confusion?
No, sir, you have to wait.
All right, let him answer. Let him get the question out, then you can answer.
Yes. Yep.
Don't you think that a good part of that confusion is your fault because you elected not to spend any time with them for better than a year and then just waltz back into their life?
Well, they also call their grandpa dad, so maybe they're confused about that as well.
Just answer my question. So my question is, sir, that isn't
Yes, it could be confusing.
And,
Yes,
and
it
that
could
was
be.
because of your conduct, is it not?
It's because of our broken relationship with Brittany.
It is striking to me your unwillingness to accept any responsibility for the fact that you haven't seen the children, that you didn't see the children over a year. It's everybody's fault but yours, isn't it?
Well, that's why we're doing this. That's why we had supervised visits to establish a relationship again, and we've done that since last July. Now it's time to move on.
Well, do you accept any responsibility for your conduct?
Yes, I do. Absolutely, 100%. But we need to move forward.
We need to move forward. Okay, but
Yes,
it's important to move forward if it's in the best interest of the children. Correct?
it is. It totally is.
No, my question is, if it is indeed in the best interest of the children, if it's what's good for the children, then it's important to move forward. It's not about what's in your interest, right? It's about what's good for the kids, right?
Right. And
Right.
it's in the best interest to have a relationship with their dad. Absolutely.
Okay. But you yourself, sir, didn't take that position for better than a year. Isn't that true?
I didn't see them for a year. Yes.
Correct. You testified just a moment ago that you think it's in the best interest of the children for them to have a relationship with you. But at the time in which that you could have had a relationship with the children, you decided not to. And
Well, we can't go backwards. We can only go forwards.
That's absolutely correct, sir. But my question for you is that now that you have elected to want to be in the children's lives, we do need to focus on what's best for the children, not what's best for either the parents. Isn't that? Would you agree with that statement?
I would agree with that. I think that's why we need to look at the reports because it
So
clearly contradicts what you're saying.
Okay, well, I move to strike, Your Honor, about anything that's in the reports as it's not in evidence.
I understood. That's
Okay. And
Till we
so
till we get testimony from that supervisor.
I have another line of testimony to get to, but I think we have about 4 minutes left. So
Right.
could I just hold till next 8?
I believe we can recess at this point.
And then do we continue with the supervised visits until then?
Everything continues until then. If I could change things like that at this point, I could have done it before we even started the hearing.
Okay.
So
I
I
just
have
want
to I have to complete the hearing. What I will try to do is I will try to rewatch this because normally I rewatch things before I make a decision. But it doesn't sound like we have too much more testimony to go through, Mr. Crow. Maybe
I think we have.
hour and a half.
I have to finish my cross with the gentleman, and then we
Yeah, I
have.
know. Maybe about an hour, hour and a half,
I
possibly.
think that.
I'm,
Well,
I'm giving you the entire 3 hours.
good, that works.
just-
I'm okay for March 4th, Judge.
Yeah, okay. And then we'll see you on March 4th. That's at least it's only in a few weeks. Most of the time I'm 90 days out. So
Referee, I want
Yes.
to let you know that I do have a vacation coming,
Oh.
March 7th through the 18th, just to let you know.
okay. So you have
So it'll be right
but
after that.
You'll be available on the 4th then.
Yes, I just want to let you know though. That'll be on
No
after that.
problem. No problem.
Thank you, Judge.
All righty. Have a good morning, everybody. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you.